All right. And I believe that we are live. So let's again thank you guys, everybody here for our Tuesday night startup with the course doing our lives every Tuesday here in Northwoods TCG. And today brought a real special guest on. Someone's going to talk to us about starting your business. I know it's a big question that we have a lot of times. And I thought being the beginning of the year and seeing his Pokemon Wonder rant talking about his experiences, that Terry would be a really good person to bring into the live here to discuss how you should set up based on different business parameters to better yourself and probably protect yourself a little bit when it comes down to starting up these things and things that you might run into. So, Terry, would you like to do a little introduction of yourself and explain,
Sure.
your background and where you come from and all that
Sure.
good stuff?
First off, I'd like to say thank you for having me on, and anybody that wants to watch and has any interest in anything I have to say. I'm from the Pittsburgh area, born and raised here. Went in the Marine Corps when I got out of high school, lived out west, ended up finding my way back home, met my wife, been married 31 years, 6 kids later, multiple business ventures. I'm not a multimillionaire by any stretch. Everything I've learned has been trial and error. Like I never really had a business mentor. My father passed when I was in high school. And so everything I've learned from buying a house or negotiating a price on a car or starting a business in different things, I've learned by trial and error. And one of the things I think people found me for being critical of PokeTubers. And I realized that, and I really wasn't trying to be that way. I was only making negative comments and I wasn't making the positive comments because I just didn't see any reason to, because I agreed with what those people were saying. But when I found something I disagreed with, I pointed that out. Some people found that interesting that I was annoying like that. And I wanted to set that straight. So Justin from Pokemon Wonder had me on, and I was able to explain a little bit about who I am and how I'm not a bad person and I'm not a meanie, as a lot of people want me to be.
And, I always laugh because I could see how people could take you that way, but like I've said before on a lot of my things, some people think they get underneath your skin, stuff like that, and it's like certain people I'm sure you could really do that with and really get bugged. But I said YouTube is just a fun thing for me, so nothing that's ever really said to me I take to heart. A lot of times too, messaging is really comments and texting. That's why I really hate texting. I mean, as a millennial, I absolutely hate texting because you cannot get context of the conversation in any way, shape, or form.
Correct.
Sometimes the way they say things, you think you're taking it as a funny way or a good way, and then you find out they were ticked off about something, and vice versa. Go both ways. So in general, is most of the chats that or most of the comments in the chats that I talk about are definitely, I always take them in a good way, and I always do like debate, as I've said, even in chats. I know you've seen and jumped in on some of the debates too. That I do. I really do like debate. I like having back and forth discussion because you learn something. Sometimes I'm missing something, and there is something different. And sometimes two people are having a conversation, and you're both meaning the same thing, maybe just looking at it from a different perspective. But in general, neither one may not be wrong. It just might be the way that you're viewing it.
And it's how the situation applies to yourself. One situation to somebody may be different for somebody else. What works for someone may not work for somebody else. And like I said, I've done a whole bunch of different things. Business wise, I know you want to keep this to like an hour and a half, like you said. My first corporation I had was a pizza shop. And first off, let me tell you why I went that route. I went a subchapter S, and I got notes on what I want to talk about, but I can't see them because it's dark here. But I guess I thought I would start this. I saw the bullet points that you wanted to hit on, and I think maybe I just wanted to step back to somebody who's never had a business ever, has never done anything, who's thinking about maybe selling on the side. And that's how I would encourage somebody to get into this. That's how I got into it. I started watching content out the yin yang for one, and realized I know nothing about this market. And I watched a lot of different types of people too, because like we discussed earlier, you can learn from anyone, and probably I like to get a shout out to the guy that I watched the most, that I get most of my tips from. He's that English guy, PCTG Radio, or whoever. He seems like to have the early jump on everything that's coming out. And I get more information from that man than I do anywhere. So let me go back into about business in general. And again, I'm not a guru by any stretch. I'm only telling you what I've learned from doing what I've done. And I've had I've had 3 partnerships. So I've had 3 different businesses, and I've had multiple sole proprietorships. But so people were thinking, well, I want to have a business. I want to, whether it be Pokemon or whatever. Well, first you have to think about, you're limited. Most people are limited by several things. They're limited by time, they're limited by resource, or they're limited by they just ain't smart enough to do this. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't know anything about cars. I don't know anything about HVAC, but that doesn't make me dumb. I know that's what you do. You're into that. Just because I don't know about it doesn't, I'm just saying you're limited by the intelligence that you possess. In this case, I was limited by Pokemon, knew nothing about it other than my kids growing up and seeing the cards and realizing, hey, I want to collect these cards too. So how I got into selling is just real naturally. I started buying one of everything during the pandemic. As over the last 2 to 3 years, I've narrowed what I've done because I'm focusing more on growing my collection without paying retail for it. And I can get into that later, but I keep getting on those tangents. So you got 3 types of, well, there's multiple business you can have, but the 3 most people have is an LLC, a subchapter S, or an S corp, or a sole proprietorship. Most people will never need an LLC. They'll never need a sub S. Most people can just go with a sole proprietorship. What the LLC and the sub S is a lot alike. One of the big differences is how many principals you can have. Like an LLC, you can have an unlimited principals owners. I believe the sub S, you can only have 100 principals, 100 owners. So what that gives you is an umbrella of protection. And why do you need protection? Well, if you have a brick and mortar, you have people coming into your shop that could get hurt. People who come into your shop who really don't get hurt, but they want to sue you. And then you can protect your assets and your liability. So basically you're separating yourself from this business venture that you're going to have. So say you own a house, and you can actually own multiple businesses. You can, shield one from the other. I'll get into that later. When I owned 2 restaurants at one time, I actually had 2 different sub S's for that. 2 completely different businesses for that same reason. Because say I poison somebody, not that I'm going to poison them, but maybe I get bad product that somebody prepared and I'm using as an ingredient that poisons somebody. Well, they're going to sue that entity, but it's not going to affect my personal life, and it's not going to affect the other business. So when you're thinking about what kind of business you want to have, most people think immediately you got to have an LLC or you got to be incorporated, and that's just not the case. What the 2 things that limit that: do you have a brick and mortar, and do you have a partner? If you have a partner, you got to have a corporation. Can't be a sole proprietor with a partner. So that's really the only 2 things when you're trying to set this business up that you need that for. I know other people will tell you differently, that they save a lot of money. How they work is this: whether it's an LLC or sub S, you take a paycheck. That paycheck is based on what someone in that comparable field makes. So say, like I was a restaurateur, I took a salary of about $35,000 a year. That gets paid in the form of a W-2. My company has to match that Social Security and Medicare tax, as well as I do as an employee. Any profit above and beyond that gets split between the principal shareholders. In my case, I had a 50-50 partnership. So when we would take a distribution that we didn't pay payroll tax on, we would get that. Let me back up. So you have 2 different kinds of taxes when you have an LLC or sub S on sole proprietorship. You actually have to do corporate taxes when you're incorporated, and you have to file quarterlies with that based on your Social Security and Medicare. That alone determines whether if you're going to file a 941 or a 944. I believe a 944 is based if you're going to pay less than $1,000 a year in Medicare and Social Security, in which case you file a 944. Anyway, I'm getting a little too complicated. I'm going to slow it down. So you get paid with a paycheck. You pay your employees with a paycheck. you file your taxes at the end of the year, like you file your regular personal taxes. You have all your things that are itemized. All your business is itemized. And if you have a profit at the end of that year, we'll say it's 10,000, and you have a partner, that partner will get 50% of that money in the form of what's called a K1. That's called pass-through income. So you take that K1. Now, when I do my personal taxes, there's a place for my W-2 and there's a place for my K1 income. So that's what most people are focused on, being incorporated. You really don't need to. I mean, because you're going to pay tax on that money, whether you're paying on your personal tax or you're paying through it, through a corporation, and you're matching what is a 3% or something. I can't remember what it was. It's been several years since I've had employees, but a lot of people just want to automatically jump to that, and you really don't need to. You can if you want to. If you're concerned about something that someone could be in danger for, like you go to people's homes, right? There you go. You have liability issues. I'm sure you protect yourself from that.
So yes, we currently, my business structure, we have actually two different business structures. Well, three. I'm running three structures currently. Number one is the LLC. So the HVAC business has to have an LLC because number one, we are installing equipment from another company that could potentially burn down a house. Even if it isn't our fault, we still have to have that protection. Number two, we do have buildings and offices where people do come to our property and our commercial buildings, walk around. They could get cut, they could trip, they could fall, whatever. So we do have that blanket there. Number three, we do have employees on the road with company trucks. So if they cause an accident and cause supplemental property damage or personal injury, we have that LLC as a barrier between us and the actual business or to our personal accounts. So what, like you said, the business is that liability, but wherever a business runs out and we go back to our personal, they can't come after us personally for those kind of costs and expenses. We do have right now a general partnership. So we do have a general partnership option here. It's not as common, but we have it for our agricultural business. My wife and I both run a general partnership. So we can have two people on a general partnership.
I'm not familiar with that, Andy. I'm not familiar with that. I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So there is a general partnership. You have two people. Huh?
Is that a state thing with you?
It might be. Maybe it's Wisconsin only. I don't know if it's the same everywhere. Just in Wisconsin, we have an option for a general partnership. So we can have up to two people on a general partnership, 50-50 split. Well, you can break it, but it's pretty much 50-50 in the eyes of the state. Mm-hmm. That's one of those ones you can't have 150, 149. You can't go 25. It's just 50-50. Whoever's on the partnership, it's an even split. So my wife and I have our farm, where we have where she sells stuff and things like that. We have a general partnership for that part of it, just because of the size, everything like that. And then the last part that we have is I just have a sole proprietorship. So my actual Pokemon business is sole proprietorship. Yeah. It doesn't make sense for me to have an LLC. When I was looking at it, I've seen so many people talking about starting businesses with Pokemon that you need to get an LLC and S Corp and do. So
you don't need any of that.
I don't have anybody coming into my basement to come look at products. I go to other locations and things like that, but it's all in my private vehicle, private everything. What's someone going to do? Trip and break their neck on a Pokemon box?
But a lot of people, Andy, they hop on these channels and they see everybody putting out content and everybody's selling Pokemon cards, and no one's ever showed them that you don't need to do that. And they think, oh, I have to have a business. I got to incorporate because that's what I've heard. And if you do want to, it's real easy to do. You don't need to have an attorney. You can do it on LegalZoom.com. The last time I incorporated was probably 2013, 2014. I think it was $300 to do it. What you do is you go online, you put all the information on there. They send you a packet in the mail. You go ahead and sign everything. You have to advertise your doing business name in 2 periodicals. I don't know if that's still the same anymore, because I don't even know if there are periodicals anymore. Everything is online. And then basically, you're on your own. And then, like I said, it's all about how you file the taxes. That's really the difference. The LLC and the sub S is a pass-through income where you can take a W-2, part of it in a salary, and then you take the rest in the form of a K-1, or you can take a loss in the form of a K-1 if your business loses money at the end. Offset some of that W-2 money. I just do sole proprietorship. What I tell, and there's 2 ways you can do that. So you come down and so you have your Schedule C. If anybody wants to pull up sometime and look at a Schedule C. It's a real easy form to fill out. What makes it difficult is no one does paper forms anymore. So it's all done online through H&R Block and Intuit TurboTax. And it's just not looking at the form and typing it in. They ask you questions, and you have to find them to populate the right questions to, like, I think one of the first things you can deduct is advertising on a Schedule C. It doesn't ask you, it doesn't give you advertising amount. You know, that's a line item you have to type in on there. You have to know that you can deduct advertising. You have to know what you can deduct and what you can't deduct. So anyway, going back to sole proprietorship, I do mine through either TurboTax or H&R Block. I find both of them to be very good. You just have to navigate their software, and that can be difficult at times. So basically, I'll show you what I got. I have 2 books I keep. This is my PayPal book where I sell stuff on Facebook, which I do a lot of business on Facebook. There's no fee for Facebook other than the PayPal fee. And some people might even pay you with friends and family. I don't encourage that because they don't know me. If they do business with me once, I'd prefer them to do it that way because then, you know, read between the lines on that. But like I keep receipts of everything I buy. I write down what I buy and sell and what I pay for it, what it costs to ship it, and every receipt. So you can, when you do your taxes, you got 2 ways you can do it. You can do cash basis or accrual. The best way to do it, if you want to keep it simple, is cash basis. You write down what you paid for it. You write down what you sold it for. You don't have to worry about carrying forward inventory or anything like that. If you do decide you want to go accrual, they're going to ask you for your beginning inventory. To that, you'll add your sales. From that, you can deduct if you had any, like if you have a food business, spoilage. In our case, if something gets lost in the mail or something gets damaged, you can deduct that right from the top. And then that leaves you your gross sales. From that, that's when you can start deducting a whole bunch of stuff legally and encouraged to do so. Anything from advertising, what you paid to do your taxes through TurboTax last year, what you paid your accountant if you have an accountant, your postage, your eBay fees, your PayPal fees, Apple Pay fees, Venmo fees, and the biggest one, cost of goods sold, what you paid for the item. Trying to think what else you can deduct that a lot of people don't think about.
So I can real quick share you kind of what my spreadsheet is right now. And this, like I said, I'm always transparent on this channel. Don't bother me at all. So this is my business side carrying over, and I really did start the business probably June of last year. And this is just like my TikTok and my actual sales business for cards and stuff like that. So I can bring this up real quick here. I think I can do this presentation. Like I said, let me see if I can pull this off without, like, you know, blowing something up. Okay, so I think I can grab this one. Okay, sure. See if I break something. So for example, this is an example of what my, you know, screen is right now. So this starts, and this one is just incomplete. This is where I was just at. Now I got a new one. I kind of switched it over. But so this is what I did. Q1, this is what I brought over for the beginning of the year. And then I document every single purchase that I do. Everything I'm intaking, you can see, is just got the plus minus on the side here. So what's income, you know, TikTok sales income, CCG player income, all that stuff comes back into here. And on the side here, you can see if I purchase something, it's broken out. What was a product? You know, what was rated cards? Ads. So what did I use for advertisement on this stuff? Sometimes there's multiple things. So on these lines, you can see this very bottom one. I have one that's got shipping, and I break out the product because the shipping can actually be deducted on your taxes also. So if you can break that out and get those kind of breakouts on those kind of things, these are things you can do. And then this is, like I said, this is just my end and where we're going currently. When at the beginning of the year, like I said, this one stopped at 16 because I updated it into a new system. But, you know, this is how I used to do it all the way through last year, the last half of the year. And this is just a quick little Excel sheet that, you know, works really good. I went to QuickBooks just because it was getting too much too fast, and I could just download my bank statements and do all that stuff a lot faster than trying to do this. And just QuickBooks
I wouldn't know how to
easier.
do a spreadsheet. I write everything down, but I reconcile every 15 days, you know, and then I carry a monthly forward, then year to date total and everything. And I'm not doing that much business. You know, I predominantly sell just promos and things, and getting back into, like, you know, I read a lot of people's comments about, they have questions about business, how they get started. Don't rush it. Just take your time. Something will fall into your lap if you look for it. You know, how I started was just simple promos. Find a way to source promos. In my particular case, I found a lot of Japanese sellers through Facebook that I could source those Unigaba promos really fast, and those the Growl with Pikachu Switch promos that came out. I knew those were coming out through who I was telling you about, that PTCG radio or whatever. That's when I first heard about them, and I knew what the Unigaba Pikachu did. It was hot, and now you got all the evolutions coming out. That's a slam dunk. You know, so I was able to source those for $10, and I was out from underneath of them. And I didn't make top dollar on them, but I did really well on them, and I had nothing at risk. I had nothing but profit with that, and that's something that I've always done business like this. Whether I had my coin shop or whatever, I've never been one to take every last dollar from something. You got to give someone a good feeling about giving you that money. You don't want them to walk away and say, man, I wanted that card, but I didn't want to pay that much for it. But I did because I wanted it. You don't want to ever leave somebody with that taste, you know? So, you know, I'm normally priced a little bit underneath. But I don't know if we went far enough where you wanted to go on that. Oh, I guess there's two things you can do, I guess. You don't need to, but you can apply for an EIN if you want to be a sole proprietor too. You can I use my social security number. I don't have an EIN for my business. That's a tax number. And something else I don't do. I don't collect state tax, so I don't have a state tax number. And you'll have people say, "Oh, you gotta get a resell." That's a line item that you can deduct if you don't have a resell. You know, so you get that one way or another. And I just prefer not to have to file anything with the state, to be honest with you. You know, in that regards of having to file every month how much state tax I've collected. And eBay does that for you, so you don't have to worry about that. You do that though, where you're collecting state tax with your business, you know, so you're filing that every month, I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah, our LLC is collecting every month, and Wisconsin's based on size of business and throughput. So like our farm, it's once a year. We don't have to do quarterly. It's only 1 year on the farm account, but the HVAC business, it's monthly. Yeah. So we got to file every single month with the state with our earnings. So they used to be biannually, and then they went to quarterly, and now
they want that money every month now. Again,
they want their check every month. So every month we're writing the check to the state for them. So yeah, and the other part, I was just sitting here with the Gimbal Slice mileage. This is what the spreadsheet I was showing there while we were talking. That's my mileage, so I just get the receipt. So my receipts are saved, and then if it's shipping, I even go when I'm going to drop off something for shipping. It's like I'm driving 14 miles, 7 miles round trip. I'm getting that 65 cents a mile.
Once again, that's exactly right. So I only go to a couple of places. Like my Walmart and Target is about the same distance, and my GameStop's all like in one plaza, and the post office is one place. Those are places I go every day. So if I go to Walmart, I always make a point to buy a pack of cards on a separate receipt. Now I can deduct that mileage for that. And I went to Walmart anyway. Legally. I mean, you're not doing anything illegally. You're literally gone there, you know. And then every time you go to the post office, you know, I save the gas receipts at the beginning of the year. I write down my beginning mileage. I write down my year-end mileage, and I keep track of how many miles I traveled and deduct that. Now you have your personal miles from, you know, your business miles. And that's a big deduction. It's like 60 some cents a mile. I haven't finished my taxes this year, but I think it was like 65 cents a mile. I owe taxes, so I'm in no hurry to pay them. You know, and that's another thing too. If you're really making a lot of money, to the point where you might actually have to file quarterlies, even though you're a sole proprietor. I mean, you got to make a lot of money for that. But I mean, that's just something to take into consideration. But I just think of someone who wants to start a business doing this, thinking maybe I want to start hustling Pokemon cards, or maybe make a little money to offset what I'm collecting. Step back and look at the good buys out there. Like a good buy out there right now is GameStop has that Gyarados box for $19.99. That's a fantastic box. You know, and if you go on eBay, they're still selling for $30 to $35 on eBay. Not saying that you can buy them from there and sell them on eBay, but I'm just saying that's a really good buy at $19.99.
It is. Yep.
Another thing I'm doing, I have people overseas in Europe primarily who like the promos when they come out, the GameStop promos and the Best Buy promos. So the two GameStops in my area will let me get one card for every $15. and they'll let me buy as many product as I want. So what I do, I just, the one guy takes 15 promos. So do the math. That's $225 of free Pokemon cards for me, and then just take items like I know I talked on one of the channels about, I think it was GameStop, that had the advent calendar box for 16 something or 17 for GameStop members. Man, there's 8 promos in there, one being a Pikachu promo, which is a $5 bill all day long. It has 5 packs of regular cards. I believe 2 of those are Fusion Strike. And then it has 7 3-card packs, which are junk, but still they're cool, not throwaways. And they have 2 coins. People collect coins. You get 50 cents a piece for those. And I think I bought 60 or 70 of those. And I broke it all down. I end up keeping all the packs of cards, and all of those promos paid for all those packs of cards. And I got nothing into those cards, And I would advise people to look at that kind of thing that's out there instead of just thinking, oh, I got to start a business. I need a lot of money to do that. I need to be in court. No, just start slow. Start with one promo. Try to source one promo. Find buyers for that promo. There's all kinds of Facebook groups that people buy and sell. And now the problem with Facebook, you got a lot of time wasters on there. A lot of people, oh, I'll take it. I'll pay you when I get off work. Well, I'm thinking, if you got time to text me now while you're at work, why can't you just pay me now? I don't hold things for people.
Because seconds to pay.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't know what they're doing, but I don't have time for that. I don't hold things for people, not because I'm mean. It's because in my experience, they don't pay. They just don't come back and pay, but that's what I do. I'm not going to make $100,000 this year. My gross sales isn't that much, but I got a lot of cards for free. Let me tell you. And I made, I'll turn a loss this year, but I made a little bit of money too, and it's hard if you figure, I use this example. If you gross $100,000 and your cost to source that product is 70%, if you exercise every exemption you can get, you won't pay tax on that. You'll have a loss. It's easy to put up 30,000 in loss, between postage and fees and car expenses, because your home house expense, if your square, like I actually have a place where I do my work at. It's 220 square feet. It has all of my stuff that I use down there. And based on, that's roughly about 1/10 of my house. And so I can deduct 1/10 of my internet bill. I can deduct 1/10 of my property taxes and so forth. And that stuff adds up. And I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I've lost money all 3 years legally.
And yeah, I mean, it's not hard to do. I mean, it's amazing though, the deductions that are out there for federal for businesses. And that's where, you hear a lot of people talking about federal, and I understand if you got a multi-million-dollar company, you shouldn't be getting away with taxes. I mean, you should be paying something on that just because of the amount of income, or multi-million-dollar sales companies. Yeah, you're going to do that. HVAC business, we never get away from getting away from taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking close to, with everybody working close to $1.6 to $1.8 million in revenue.
And you're paying all of their wage taxes,
It's all there. I mean, we're getting all that, all these deductions and stuff. You still don't eat it all at that size. But when you're under $100,000, realistically, it's very difficult to pay taxes if you're doing it right. If you're tracking everything, if you're taking advantage of all the deductions, if you're taking a tax, like you said, like you're saying, shipping costs. It's one of the things people don't even think about. But I keep all of my shipping supplies on write-up, because it is, at the end of the year, you'd be amazed at that 5-cent envelope, how many 5-cent envelopes I send.
Absolutely. I ordered Car Saver ones today, $7. Most people say that's $7. No, man, I printed out, I ordered off eBay. I printed out my thing, $7.49. I think I paid for them. Because I'm also a middleman for a lot of people over in Europe to send their cards off to PSA and Beckett. I do that for them. I do that free of charge. They pay for the shipping and everything. It's the least I can do. It doesn't cost me anything to do it, and I'm happy to do it for them. But it's just like I saw that there's a question here. It says, do you have a tax exemption for inventory? I think that goes back to what we were talking about, the difference between a cash basis or accrual. The tax exemption for, if you're doing it with a cash basis, is what you actually pay, your cost of goods sold. And I think that's what he meant. I'm not sure.
Well, I think he means is tax exemption for inventory. So when you're purchasing your inventory,
okay, sales tax exempt.
Yep, sales
Yeah.
tax,
Yeah, I
exactly. I
don't
think
have one of those for Pennsylvania. All I do is I just make that a line item for the sales tax I pay, on my taxes. It's just like
yeah.
no different than postage.
So the
So,
best thing is
yeah,
I was gonna say the good thing in Wisconsin is our sales tax. So if I pay sales tax when I buy something from Walmart and I keep track of that sales tax when I do that at the end of the year or at the end of the month or quarter, for me it's year for the Pokemon business, I can actually write that off of all my sales in the state. So anything I use for that sales tax, and actually even our HVAC business, we pay sales tax on it.
hmm
As funny as it sounds, a lot of people go, "Aren't you tax exempt?" We could, but if I do it, then I just charge for labor. When I
yeah,
install stuff, I'm charging labor to install something. I'm selling it to you for the cost that I paid for it. And that way I'm charging you for the labor on the other end. And
right.
that way in the state of Wisconsin, labor is not taxable. Labor is tax free. It's the actual equipment. It's the substance stuff that's taxable. Even on most taxes, if you look at it, even when in Colorado, the labor is free. It has to be basically taxes that you pay for your sales tax are a substance. They have to actually have some value. They always said they have to have some value to it. So the equipment is taxable if I sell
That's
it.
interesting.
So the labor is tax free. So what we do is we just pay the sales tax to the wholesalers when we buy the equipment. We don't have to figure that out. We don't have to figure that part into it at the end of the
Mhm.
year. So because we've already paid sales tax on all the
Yeah.
equipment, if you look at our books when we sell something, we actually say the labor is the rest of it. So our labor is just literally covering that. So even on when we sell stuff to the customer, we don't put sales tax on them. Our bid is our bid because we don't have to put that sales tax number on there because we already paid it. We paid it for you. When we give you the price for that item, we already paid the tax.
Yeah,
So
most people here in Pennsylvania are the exact opposite. They are like when I had my restaurant, since I sold prepared food, that was a taxable item. Now, I didn't actually charge the tax because I made everything tax inclusive, but I really did factor in the tax because I
yeah,
was tax exempt and to make a $12.99 pizza, I actually backed that out to make it so it'd be $12.99. But I actually paid the state of Pennsylvania 6% out of that gross I had.
yeah. And so that's even like the packs whenever I sell them, things like that. Even if I'm doing local convention, if I pay the sales tax up front, I don't have to worry about collecting sales tax
Yeah.
because then I'm just the wholesaler throughput.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about it at that point. The packs
Some
are a little
people,
bit different because I got to pay the difference. So if I buy it for $374 at Walmart and I sell it for $450, but there again, TikTok, TCG Player, all those places are already grabbing that tax too. So I'm just kind of double covering myself. And at the end of the month or year, I can print out TCG Player how much they collected for tax. And actually, what I found is I can get that back
how?
that because it's double paid on tax because I already paid the tax on it from Walmart.
Yeah.
Then
Oh,
they're
yeah,
paying. Then
yeah, they're taking it out.
they're taking it out too. So at the end of the year,
Yeah.
that's actually a deduction. On last year, that ended up being a deduction
Yeah,
because
I
it was
showed I
my
showed
cost.
the tax I paid to Walmart and everything as a line item, sales tax
Yep.
paid. Yeah.
So they just removed that as a line item because they're collecting it too. Because you take TikToks or TCG Player, they show you the amount of taxes that was removed, and it's all taken care of. So you've actually overpaid on taxes that way. I like overpaying on taxes because I hate having a big tax bill at the end of the year. I'd rather
Yeah.
pay extra throughout the year in little pieces than have one lump sum at the very end trying to figure out how to make that payment.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've been doing Roth conversions over the last few years, and I'm not 59 and a half, so I got to pay that 10% to move that money.
Yep.
And it sucks to do that, but it's the thing to do. I mean, I'm turning 59 this year, so my wife's a year younger than me. So I've managed to get all of my Roth conversion moved over, but we still got quite a bit to move for her, and probably gonna need 4 or 5 years to do that. But then take that money out as needed, tax free. See, because when I
Yep.
first got investing, they didn't have a Roth; it was just traditional IRAs back then, and that money was deductible from your gross. The Roth IRA is the best investment that young kids or not anybody can actually have, under the age of 50. I mean, you're foolish if you don't max that out, if you have the ability to do so.
Yep.
My
That's
opinion,
what I
not
always
only.
Yeah, and that's what I talk about too all the time on here is that when I'm investing in the Pokemon stuff, and that's always my biggest thing is some people go, well, take all your money. No, don't take your money out of your regular investments. I will never do that. I have a Roth IRA, and for the business, that's my brother and dad and I. Well, dad doesn't so much anymore; he's pretty much retired. But my brother and I, usually by April, May, we've completely maxed out our IRA contributions for that year, and
Yeah, that's
that's
a
the
great
reason we
investment.
it's great to do it. I mean, just do it. The business does it. It's Roth IRA is full. You know, they just and
You
that way we
actually
don't.
touched on something there. That another advantage for a corporation is you can set up retirement plans for yourself.
Yes,
You know, that's an advantage that you don't have as a sole proprietorship. But you
correct.
can put the money away. But you can actually shelter a lot of money that way as well.
Yeah.
That's something I wanted to touch on. Actually, just slipped my head.
Oh,
Uh,
it's a good point. And that's why we actually use the HVAC business, and then my contributions are pretty much maxed out by May. May is usually our last contribution. So then for the rest of the year, that's where people ask, well, what do you do? Well, I've got extra money in because I've
mhm,
already maxed out my contributions. Now I can go to other investments. I could either
mhm.
do self-employed, self stock marketing, and if I wanted to, or that's where I just come with Pokemon. I enjoy it. This is fun. I get cardboard. I get to enjoy my
It's
hobby.
fun. I mean,
It's fun.
my wife is a pharmacy tech at Walmart, so she sees all the MJ holding boxes and tells me how many there are back there, and they put them on the shelf. She put them on the shelf on Fridays, so uh,
Mhm.
I have first shot at that stuff most of the time if I get up there early enough. So it's just like you take advantage of these little edges you have on things, and again, you look at something in its total and see what you can break out of that box and say, you know what, I could probably sell those promos out of there and keep 2 packs for free. Well, if you do that with 80 boxes, now you got 160 packs for free, you know,
Exactly.
and that's how I've been building. I mean, I probably got more than the average person, but I don't have a whole room full. I got like a big closet, but I mean, I'm not into that for very much. You know, that's other people's money, and that's what I wish people could look at. I just they look at some of those big YouTubers and they're pumping it out, pack breaks and stuff, and making all this money and thinking, how can I do that? Well, you got to start somewhere. You got to source product, and you have to have a place for that product to go to, and then you collect a small fee in between. And it's really not that hard. It just takes time to build those connections and meet people. And like I said, I got most of the knowledge that I had from watching you guys. You in particular, like I was telling you, you're one of probably 5 or 6 people I watch. I try to watch every show, everyone. PK, Pokemon Wonder, Dan from Catch 'em All Collectibles, a couple other ones in there. But those are people I watch all the time. I try to watch it all because a lot of times there's overlap, and a lot of times there's a little tidbit of information out there. I tell you what, I drift, but Alex from Nostalgianomics will put out like the 5 good investments to make. And I tell you what, I've taken advantage of some good ones. He'll scour eBay to find these really cheap buys. And you got to be quick on them because people snap them up. But I've got a lot of good buys from his advice too.
Yeah. Like I said, some people do not nostalgianomics a lot. And I personally, I don't have any problem with Alex. I think he's got some really good knowledgeable points. But just like anybody, sometimes he's a little extreme on some things, and sometimes he's,
He's a
really
little
pushing.
abrasive. But
What's that?
I use him as an example. That's a guy who was doing it part time, ended up quitting his job. Now look at him; he's killing it. All over
Oh, yeah.
TikTok or whatnot. He's killing it. You can do not you, but anybody. You can do that too if you put the effort into it, a little bit of research, and again, source product. And that's easier said than done. It's not as easy to go buy 100 promos, get them graded PSA 10s, and then double your money. It's hard to do that nowadays. It really is. In fact, I
Yeah.
grade very little with PSA right now. And there just really isn't a lot out there to do. I tell you what, I was making money on. So, the Pikachu Halloween trick or trades. I was buying them off a TCG player for 10 cents each. And I was
Yep.
sending the ones that was going to grade 10, getting them graded. And almost all came back 10. I pretty much know how to grade a card. A couple come back 9s, but you still get your money back, $15 on a 9. But I was selling them for $25 to $30 in a 10. The ones that didn't make the grade from TCG player, I sold them on Facebook for 50 cents and still 5x my money. Because everybody will spend
Yeah.
50 cents for a Pikachu. Who won't,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Things like that.
Oh, no. And there's always plays, and I'm the same way this year. Even the end of last year, I noticed I was really backing down on PSA cards because there's a few reasons. Number one, a lot of people have moved into that market. So once again, like I've talked about on other channels, that was a great market 2 years ago. Right when it opened back up, there was some really good opportunities. If you had those places you could source cards to really make a lot of decent cash through the first, year, about a year that they were back open. But the problem is like anything. We were talking with what was I just talking to? Akuma. So I was
Mhm.
talking with Java Akuma, and that was a big thing we talked about. You always got to stay one hurdle ahead of the other people. That's the key to the business market and actually being successful is that you see some of us are tailing off of PSA. Well, why are you tailing off of PSA? Some people sat there, and when I talked about that earlier this year, at the end of last year, I'm going to really back down on my PSA. There's a reason for that. I'm looking for the next hurdle to get ahead of
Mhm.
everybody. Let's be honest, PSA is getting so many people. How many cards are they pushing through right now? Number
Millions.
one, because millions. I mean,
Yeah,
millions of
millions.
cards. You have millions of people grading cards, and then you can watch every graded card comes out. I always call it a race to the bottom. If
Mhm.
you're not first, you're last.
That's
If you
true.
can't get those cards back, you're dead. And
Yep.
that's not a game that I don't play. I want more securities, and I want more control over it. Sourcing cards is becoming more and more difficult because so many people are jumping into the PSA market and the graded market that they are saturating the crap out of the sourcing. And now you're bidding for sourcing. Before you just knew people and you would be able to source cards and you just call them up. Hey, I'm looking for 20 of
Mhm.
these. Yeah, I got 15 of them. Cool, send them. That didn't happen anymore because now you got him sourcing to 12 other people and everybody's going,
Right.
well, I'll pay 5 for them. Well, I'll pay 7. I'll pay 10. Pretty soon he's selling cards for $20 a piece. And you got to get him in and find out if you have any 10s. And there's only, by the time you get it out, there's only a $50 markup anyways. That's a 10. If you get the 9, it's $15. Well, if I grade this as a 9, it's going to come back under what I paid for the card originally.
And now, I mean, even though you know that card's a 10, you've been doing
Yeah.
it long enough, you're still at their hands. They're going to give you a 9. Then you're dead in the water. So I got to the point
Exactly.
where it's just not worth it. It's just not
Nope.
worth playing the game, you know?
And that's where, like I said, I think a lot of the people that were doing it originally are now backing out, such as myself. I'm finding other alternatives that are more in my hands and more consistent and a lot less luck. I hate luck when it comes down to business opportunities where I'm trying to actually turn profit on things. I don't
Mhm.
want luck to be a big part of it. If I can get rid of that luck factor, if there's luck in it and there's a great payout, even at a 10 or a 9, it's worth the gamble, right? It's worth
Mhm.
that shot. But when it drops so fast, so far, so quick, it just doesn't make sense to take that gamble anymore. That
And
gamble's
like you said,
disappeared.
a million people's doing that play. You know,
Yeah,
I,
the
I,
place
I made
becomes
a
so
boat.
saturated.
I made a boatload of money on the Chinese version of SVP001.
Yep.
I was buying those for,
Okay.
oh my God, I was buying them 200 at a time for like 250 a piece. And I was selling them on Facebook for $10. Then it got to be $8. But still, I mean, I'd sell them like that, you know.
Yeah.
And you might think, well, who would want that? Well, just about anybody who doesn't have the first off, the card was beautiful. And some people don't care if the car is Japanese or Chinese or American, you know.
We want the art.
Yeah. I tell you one play that didn't work out for me. At least it hasn't worked out yet. I was pretty keen on that simplified Japanese market or the simplified Chinese market, how they're pumping them out left and right to get caught up and everything. And you find the opportunity to buy the higher priced cards a lot cheaper and everything. I mean, I don't have money to pay, what is it, 800 for a raw Moonbryon. First off, I think that card's ugly as you know what.
Yeah.
I don't understand the hype with that card. But anyway, I mean, I just saw that Simplified Chinese card just came out for that set, and it's like 50, 60 bucks. You can own the art for a fraction of the price. But anyway, again, I was on a tangent. I was buying the tag team Simplified Chinese cards. Okay. $2, $3, all arts for $8, $9, $10. And didn't go anywhere. I got some of them graded, broke even basically on them, and I got a bunch of raw ones, but I don't have a lot into them. You know, a lot of those were only $2, $3 a piece, and then the alt arts were, like I said, I think some of them were like 20. But I have a boatload of them I'm sitting on. That was something that didn't work out for me. And again, trial and error.
At the end of the day, not everything works. And I was just talking
No.
about that the other day. Some of it sounds I got these dirt cheap.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was like,
I paid full price for mine.
You bought 3 and you got 1 free.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I have that sale going on right now.
Yeah, that's still going on. That's how bad of a deal it was. And I'm like, well, when it first came out, it just got released. I'm like, it's Dragonite. It's a Dragonite beast
for mine.
I paid the 3 for, bought them, bought 2, got 1 free. I got, 9 of them total. And I
Mhm.
went, what's the worst that could happen? Dragonite's fairly popular. I thought I'd get a great deal on them things. Them things are so much. I'm so upside down on them things right now. I said, the only thing I can do with them is throw them in the closet.
Yeah.
They're piled up here in the corner and just wait them out. Eventually price will go up on them. I know that will
It's a
happen.
beautiful box. It's a good
Yeah,
card. You know.
Dragonite. I mean,
Yeah.
Dragonite's got fan favorite to it. Pokemon Go is probably the one drag on that item right there. If it
Yeah,
was any
I'm
other
sitting
set,
on a bunch of those Pokemon Go tins. Walmart had a clearance on them for $5 a tin. I
oh,
think I must have bought like 100 tins. I got boxes of them.
yep,
But again, $5. I think there's what 3 or 4 packs in there, 5 packs. I don't know.
like there's
The
5.
tin was a $20 tin, so there would have been 5 packs in that probably, plus the promo.
Yep, yep.
So that's $1 a pack, and no one wants it. But another
To
thing
be
I've been
honest with you
speculating.
though,
What's
I
that?
took the one play on those tins, Terry, and this is what I ended up doing with them, is I ripped the tins. So I ripped the packs open because I did. They were on sale for $4.98 a tin.
Hmm.
I went and bought everything that they had because me selling a TCG player, I've made more than $5 a tin back on TCG player
What's
because
that Pikachu go for? $3 or $4 maybe?
the Pikachu I think goes for like dollar
That's
90,
it.
but the other all the tins, all the promos inside there are around $2. So the promo alone's $2 at that price.
Mhm.
Then you rip the packs. Pokestops are pretty common, and Pokestops is a very playable stadium right now. So those sell at about $2 a piece, $1.75 a piece. Plus, then the Charizard, if you can pull any kind of the starters as reverses, them instantly go
Mhm.
for $2. So some of the cards in there actually sell at a really good price, even though the packs are,
Yeah.
when they're in the pack form, nobody wants them. But if you can get them broken down on TCG Player and you're selling the bulk version of it, they sell. I've made over what I paid in it just ripping those tins down to nothing and literally opening all the packs.
Hmm.
And then, of course, you do like, this one's not the one, but the Radiant Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur. Still, if you can get them out, get some decent
Mhm.
ones, grade them. I've graded those, and they still sell for around 45, $50 a piece. So, you get them as just a bonus when you're ripping through packs. Then, like you said, you're just cost dollaring that down. I've done ripping those tins, Terry, is probably the best option that I found with those so far. And I've considered it with the Dragonite boxes, but it's like, just rip the packs. But that's still quite a bit because there's not that many packs inside that Dragonite box. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, there's
I have
definitely some
it.
options. And
I
once
have
again, that's
mine
where you're
sitting up
talking
on
about.
like you have
Yeah,
yours sitting there.
yeah. And like you said, we're just talking, as a business perspective on this stuff is looking at breaking down further. How far do you need to break down to make profit? Because a lot of times with these products, you buy them and you can't sell the tin. So the tin don't sell.
Mhm.
Okay, so now I'm going to have to go down further. So do the packs sell? Well, no, the packs don't sell, but that promo does. So if you break the tin, you get the packs, you get a promo. Now I've knocked that price down per pack. Well, it's still not there. Well, can I break down those packs now and
Yeah.
look at TCG Player? And can I use that? Is there something in the bulk? Because sometimes people don't want to buy the packs, but they'll buy the bulk, and the bulk sells really well. So you can usually, not all the time, but probably 90% of the time, you can find a way to continually break down a product to where you can get, profitability. Kind of like you said with that advent calendar. Perfect example.
I
They
mean,
can't sell the advent
easy.
calendar at
No,
price,
but I
but
mean,
you
like
can
I
buy
said,
the promos and all that stuff and do it.
I know I've heard you talking before about it. It's funny how people do things backwards. Like Fusion Strike sold out on Pokemon Center. You've been talking since day one. As soon as that sells out, as soon as Brilliant Stars sells out, the price is going to go up. Why are you buying it afterwards? Buy it before, but
Uh-huh.
people don't do that. They just don't do it.
Well, that's what I keep telling people. Just watch these sets. As they're wearing out, Chilling Rain was the perfect example of how that was going to go. I mean, I already have a position in Chilling Rain, so I'm not going out and buying Chilling Rain, but I'm still watching how it performs. And I said, watch what happens when Chilling Rain sells out in Pokemon Center because all these sets, they're bouncing right at that 144 range. Why are they doing that? They keep wanting to break. Lost Origins makes a breakaway and then comes back. Brilliant
Yep.
Stars, breakaway, comes back. Why are they doing that? Because there's something restricting. There's a restriction there in the market that's keeping them from doing a full breakaway.
Yeah, it's
Once they do,
$145 on Pokemon Center.
yeah,
But as
exactly.
soon as they go off, what's Fusion Strike right now? Like 180, 185 or something?
It jumped up. I don't know if it's 180, 185 anymore because then it showed back up on Pokemon Center.
Oh, did it?
It did. It was
Oh,
gone
I
for
did
like
not
a
know
week
that.
and a half. And then
Huh,
all of a
that's a
sudden it
little
showed
weird.
back up. And I don't know if it's up again. I haven't checked here. I'm just going to look real quick because I'm curious to know what Fusion Strike is doing because it broke away. It did exactly what I figured it would probably do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's back. It's still at 160. So we're up to 160 right now on TCG Player. So she broke away and went up almost $40 just by that fact.
And
And what
they're
do you
all
think?
eventually going to go off sale. Eventually, they're going to sell
Oh,
out because and a lot of things. People talk about, well, would you spend? I don't know what Evolving Skies is now. I really don't stay up on that. $700, $600. What's a box of Evolving Skies now?
Evolving Skies.
Yeah,
Like it's about 500.
500.
Yep.
I mean, I just don't get the whole. There's nice cards in that set. There's nice cards in Chilling Reign. There's really nice cards in Brilliant Stars.
Yeah.
You get people who invest. You have content creators saying, "Oh, look how good this is a good investment." You got people who don't have time to invest. Maybe they got kids and they coach a ball team and they work 2 jobs and they're relying on other people to invest for them. And they say, you need to go buy this. And everybody knows Evolving Skies is hot. Even somebody as dumb as me knows that. So anytime I find it inside of a product, I give an example. So Target has been having these. I don't know who they're manufactured by. I think it might be MJ Holdings, but they're repacks. There's 3 packs in there, and there's a upside down promo card. I've got Forbidden Light out of those, multiple Evolving Skies, Cosmic Eclipse. I got 1 Evolutions pack. All you got to do is just go check. Stay online, see what other people are posting, and just be there. I mean, you don't need to worry about like taking it from somebody because there's something else you can buy. There's so many things you can buy and make money on. You don't have to worry about stepping on people's toes. Again, coming from somebody who doesn't know much about it. This is not what I do I mean, I guess it is what I do for a living because I'm retired and that's what I do. But like, I have no aspirations of getting distribution or anything like that, or opening a card shop. I have no aspiration for that. I mail maybe 5 packages a day in between eBay and Facebook, and that's enough for me. I spend time with my cats. I get up, I feed my cats. I tell them how pretty they are. I got a couple kids that still live with me and spend time with them, my wife, and I'm not looking for a hustle. I'm older now, I'm ready to enjoy the last 20 years. Someone lets yourself, you're coming into my age. You said you're what, 38?
38.
38. You're coming up to a point where you got to be thinking about retirement pretty soon, and
especially my line of work. Either that or I'm shifting to just doing service work. I ain't going to be doing this install and carrying heavy.
Your body will wear out after a while. It's like I had to sell my pizza shop because of back issues. But like, those kind of on your feet, back breaking work and stuff, that's for the young kids. Eventually, your body's not going to hold up and you can't do it. I got a good friend of mine. I actually hired him as a driver for me when he was 18. I think he's 42 now. I helped him start his own plumbing business, incorporated and everything. And I told him, I said, Sean, man, you better be investing, because you ain't going to be able to do that forever. He's digging dishes and stuff, but you don't think about it at age 30, 35. I mean, you still think you're going to live forever, but I'm telling you, you're going to wake up. You're going to be 50 one day and you're going to look, am I ready to be retired money wise or not? And I don't know. Some people don't care about having a lot of money in the bank. Some people like to spend it as fast as they make it, and they're okay with that. To each to their own. I'm one of those people. I don't buy anything that I can't resell. I tell the joke that I'd probably still be wearing underwear from when I met my wife 31 years ago if she didn't buy underwear for me, because I ain't spending on that kind of stuff,
That's like me with jeans. People always laugh because my jeans always have holes and easy to go out. You should buy new jeans. Why? I'm just going to wear out another pair anyways. Might as well just wear them until they fall apart. But I mean, that's just it.
I call that being frugal. Some people call that being cheap, but we're okay. We don't have to worry about anything. We paid our house when we had the restaurant. Was making really incredible money. Paid our house off in 7 years. We got a beautiful home and did everything right. But then I had back injuries and never ever think about that ever happening. I had my first surgery. I think I was 35 when I had my first surgery. It was a back fusion. Then I've had 4 fusions total, and I got something called a spinal cord stimulator in my back that goes up to my brain. It shocks me, but it doesn't work, so it got to come out. But we've done everything right. My wife enjoys working for Walmart. She loves being a pharmacy tech, and I take care of the house. She does like the real deep cleaning, but like I do all the sweeping, changing the cat stuff, and most of the stuff. And I look forward to her coming home. And I got it good. I got 6 healthy kids. Some people really have a rough life, and I feel for that. People that have a rough life, no matter how hard they work, they just can't get behind from the bad luck. It's just bad luck follows them everywhere.
Yeah. And no matter what, there's always that individual, and it really sucks. You always watch some of them guys. I know guys that have worked, twice as hard as I have, and like you said, some people they try to start businesses, they try to do these things, and it's like I always like this TikTok one. I always come across there's a TikTok video, or it comes across on Instagram or Facebook, and it always says, there's only everybody thinks that as a business owner, you start a business because you want to be a millionaire or you want to make a ton of money, and it's like they said, but the realistic is that you're the first person to work every morning. You're the last person to leave. You go home and you have to deal with all the situations that came up during the day. You have to do your books. You have to call customers. You have to follow up on everything. You're the man that does everything, and you're the first person they yell at when something's going wrong, and you're the last person that gets to actually get away from it after you pay your employees and everything else like that.
Yeah, I was wondering if you'll get that. You're the last one that gets paid.
You're the last one who gets paid. And like I said, Dad and I, with our employees, we always say the same thing. These guys are making a monthly or weekly paycheck, and we get our salary, but our salary is very modest comparatively to even the employees. You put us on a board against them, we're making probably about half of what they are per week. And because we know we're going to get our supplement comes if the business does well. Like I said, once again, it's that last person paid.
Yeah.
We don't make any money till September. People don't realize that by the time you pay payroll, the insurance, the vehicle insurance, the repairs, the maintenance, all the things that go into operating that business, repairs in the buildings, repairs on all the stuff that goes through. We don't make a dime until September for the business. So realistically, the last 3 months of the year are most important to try and make sure we finish off and make sure we get paid. Mm-hmm. And it's just all these things. It's not as easy as people think it is to start a business.
Yeah, they think you're a business owner, you're rich, and you go on vacation whenever you want. And like I work 6 days a week. When we first started that restaurant, I worked 6 months without taking a paycheck, period. No, not one penny out of the business. And we still had 6 small kids at the time, but I knew it was an investment, but it was just a little bit. And finally we got stable. And then the recession hit. And so where my restaurant is where all the big acts in Pittsburgh come to play. It's called Star Lake Amphitheater. And it's not really in Pittsburgh. It's actually in the county next to it, but that's the venue, Pittsburgh venue for like when YouTube plays in downtown, but like somebody like say Pearl Jam or Kiss, they come out to Star Lake. And then we were the only restaurant in that town of Burgettstown at the time. Literally, that's how small this town was. One road in, one road out. And we were the only restaurant there. So they had no one to cater their food at the end of the night, at the end of the concerts. So we catered all those bands every night, normally four nights a week during the summertime, and we counted on that money. They fed the roadies, they fed the bus drivers and everything. But then the recession hit and you could just see the pullback. The only people was buying food was the band. They weren't paying for the roadies or anything. And that hurt us. You get used to making a certain amount of money and carrying employees, because that's always an issue. Never get enough employees. You're always behind the 8 ball with employees. You finally get staffed. Here comes a recession. And that was something we had to get adjusted to. It was rough.
Yeah. And that was just it. The recession really did. That's with everybody. I mean, even us up here for the HVAC business, the problem is that we always say the area we live in is really all secondary money. So we're always the first one into the recession and we're the last ones out, because people feel it. They start pulling out. They start dropping all their secondary homes or cabins. They stop using them. They winterize them, and they just forget about them, so they don't have that cost. And then on top of it, by the time the recession recovers, and then everybody starts getting money, it takes about a year or two before they start spending money outside of their homes, what they're catching up on. So once again, we have that issue. Granted, now the big advantage we have nowadays, and that's what I'm saying, the market's slowing down. I mean, people that think that because the stock market's doing well, all these things are doing really good. I can tell you right now, people are feeling it.
Yeah.
Cabins are closing up. We got a lot of stuff for sale in this area. All that stuff occurs right at the beginning of a recession. It's what we see here. So we are seeing the beginnings of it, regardless if the economists are saying it's great, everything's making money. No, we're seeing pullback. People are pulling back. But the biggest advantage we have now is there's not very many heating guys left. So we have a market advantage that there's only about 4 companies left compared to 2008, 2010, when there was about 30. So you're really have an advantage now where we're probably not going to see as much of a slowdown for us. It's just going to shift what we do. But shifting back to the actual conversation, Terry, since
actually, I got to bring this up or I'll forget it. So I got my notes here. Something I want to touch on. You don't hear many people talking about. What happens if they have a flood or something in their home? Should they carry collector's insurance? Okay, I don't know about everybody, but my homeowner's policy covers up to $5,000 for collectibles to be damaged. So I would advise somebody who has a big collection, get it off ground level and put it on something that's not going to get wet. Because my house did flood one time. We went to Aruba, and apparently when we were gone, they were working on the lines out front, and they shut the water off. And when they turned the water back on that day, it popped the little filler off my toilet, and it ran on the grounds. So it ran a week in our house. So there was that much. It was a mess. It was so awful. We lived in hotels for over 6 months while they renovated our house. That's how bad it was. But they didn't question. I had a pretty nice baseball card collection. I just provided pictures. They paid it no problem because that was the least of their concerns. But if someone has, like, nowadays, I mean, some of those cards are really expensive. So if you have a home theft or something, I don't know about collector's insurance, and I didn't know if you did.
I have collector's insurance on a couple of my cards just because, and they're just itemized, kind of like my firearms too. I have a lot of antique collector's guns that grandpa and great grandpa had. So I do have a couple of items that are itemized. So basically all you got to do is once a year, they send me my itemized list of those things. Ask me if I need to ask or add to it. Of course, they ask that question if there's anything else I've purchased in the last year. If I do make a big purchase, of course, I add it on a column and tell them what it is. And they want exactly like you said. They just want to see an itemized list of what it is, the value of it, and that's pretty much it. So you can.
Is that through your homeowner's company, or is it a separate company?
My homeowner's company. Okay. No, it's through
my. You have a rider on it, basically. Then
I have a rider on my homeowners. It's not very expensive. I think for my value, my stuff, it's like $150 a year.
Oh, wow.
It. So I mean, realistically, it's peace of mind. It's $150 a year for peace of mind, especially like I said, some of the firearms I got. Some octagon barrels and some, old 1980 or 1800 style guns and stuff like that. Great grandpa had. It's just those are so old and they're non-replaceable anymore, and the value is just getting really, to replace it, the value would be so crazy. So just like that. Somewhere to do home invasion, somehow get into my gun safe, get that stuff out. Even my safe with my cards, if they got into it. I mean, I have a couple cards that are well over $5,000, but most of the stuff, if it's under $5,000, no, I don't insure it. I don't go through and itemize that in depth. My wife asked me about, I got 5 cases of Evolving Skies sitting here, and she's just like,
"Do you really?
Should insurance on that?" Because when I bought that, I bought 10 cases.
Did you pick that up? What price point? If you don't mind me asking.
Booster box.
Okay, you're locking up on me there.
Oh, can you see me now?
Yeah.
Okay. $99 booster box.
Wow.
I bought 10 cases of it at $99 a booster box. I sold half of them when it hit $185. So I sold half of them off. I'm sure you saw me talking about that.
Yeah.
Doing the experiment for what you actually got.
That's the way you do it, though.
Well, that was just it. So I upped down that cost, but I still have 5 cases. You know, I question
Free.
whether or not I should sell some more, but I said it's almost free. I said realistically, there's like $23 a box on it right now, and it's a
The
$500
only thing I
box.
spent a lot of money sealed is I had a guy local had a box of Cosmic Eclipse, and I picked it up for 750. Not a great price, you know, but it's something about that set. I like that set. You know, I think it has upside potential because it's like the stepbrother to, you know, uh, I just think that you look at. I'll give an example. You take the new sets coming out. If you pick them up at 80, you buy a case of those for 480, 500, or you take $500 and you buy a box of Evolving Skies, which is going to go up higher. I'll take the 6 individual boxes because I think the odds of them going up $40 for a collective for 240 is easier than to add 240 to that. Again, based on nothing but just how I feel about it.
And
Probably have 100 people tell you opposite, but I just think that
yeah,
they all have upside potential over the course of time. Now, how much upside potential? Well, that remains to be seen, you know.
and I even talked about that too. Yeah, probably about 3 months ago. I did a video on that, and I got a lot of kickback for that one because I said you could sit there and take $500 and you can buy one booster box of Evolving Skies, and okay, you buy one box for $500, or you could go and take that $500 and buy all the new sets of Scarlet
Mm-hmm.
and Violet.
Mm-hmm.
What's the chances that one of those sets of Scarlet and Violet will have more upside potential than that Evolving Skies booster box by
I think
percentage?
100% of the time. That's what I think. You know,
Yeah,
I'm more stocked up on the newer stuff than I am the older stuff because I've learned to play the game. I've learned how to buy these things. I'll give an example. You can't do it with this one's out this right now, but the Pokemon Center ETBs. What I was doing, I was buying anywhere between 10 to 20 cases each of those, and then they would sell out real quick. Now I'm talking Scarlet Violet era. They would sell out really quick. Then I pre-sold them on eBay. So I basically had boxes lined up. They came in the mail. I put a sticker and they were out the door and making about $20 a box on them. And I would save a case or two for myself for free. You can't do that now though, because they're still up for sale. I just canceled my orders the other day. I had 20 cases on order. I got one case and one individual box of each. But this was the first time in this Scarlet Violet era you haven't been able to do that. They have been selling out really quickly.
yeah, and yeah, I see. That's what I was just looking. Temporal Forces was still up,
Yeah.
so yeah, the
That's
newer ones I saw they've been holding on longer before they sell out.
I did pick up a case of the Obsidian Flames when it got reissued, and it went out a couple of days later. But I was happy I picked up a case of that again.
Yeah, I mean the other ones especially they're really nice to have those original ones. So like I said, Temporal Force is the first one that I've seen actually stay on there for more than a
Yeah.
week. So Temporal Forces, they either A, printed a ton of them again, or B, I'm just worried there's not that much interest in the set. If you see that too, could be one of two things.
Yeah, I like them all. I like everything. People say, "Oh, I don't like those." I mean, I like them all. I like all Pokemon. You know, I just enjoy it. It makes me happy. People say, "Oh, I wish they wouldn't put out so many sets." I just look at it more nice things to have. I don't know. I guess
Well,
if you have to have every one of everything, it probably gets frustrating after a while because no
yeah,
one has an unlimited budget. You know.
but the problem is this is my biggest point. Pokemon really hasn't changed their release pattern in 12 years. They always release the same four expansions per year. It doesn't change. It hasn't changed since as long as I can remember. Even back in WotC era, I mean, EX era, they were always 4 a year. You could always figure there was a quarter release. The only thing that's really changed is that now they put out Pokemon Center ETBs. ETBs were thrown into the mix. Now we get holiday sets, and it used to be one holiday a set. I mean, you can even go back in Sun and Moon. It's been one holiday set. So the holiday sets have still been there for quite a long time. The problem is that I think the bigger thing that I think is happening right now are number one, people's budgets are getting tight.
Mhm.
Number two, the popularity in Pokemon is waning a little bit. It's not waning as much as I thought it would by
It's
now,
dying down a little
but
bit.
I think you're getting more of the core members are still here and we enjoy it and we love it. The people that are strictly in it for income and that's all that they're in it for are starting to get kind of frustrated because they feel that more sets is creating less sales.
Yeah.
And it's like you are right in a way, but the fact is that this is how it's always been. I mean, It's like the product thing. You know, why does Pokemon put out so many new products? And it's like Pokemon tries to sell. They're not caring about you secondary market scalping and trying to make money. Let's just be honest. For them, it's a sales game. The products
Mhm.
always change. There's always new products coming out for Pokemon because they're trying to entice people to buy something new. You see something new and it's in the park.
Keep it
If you
fresh.
just sold ETBs, 3-pack blisters, and blisters, people get bored. They wouldn't see it. So what do? They shift that product up. So now they're doing like this. This to me was a fantastic. These booster bundles. 6-pack booster bundles, that was a fantastic addition. I don't have to buy all the crap with an
Yep.
ETB, and I can still get the packs that I want without having to buy a booster box.
Yep.
That was a great addition. Then 3-pack bundles. Guys, Pokemon's going to always change the product lines. They don't keep it the same forever because then people get bored. Every company, if you ever notice,
I
they change
enjoy
the
it,
labeling,
Andy.
they change the product, they change all the stuff.
The more different items that come out, I enjoy it. I like to see. I mean, I like the packaging. I don't collect just Pokemon cards. Like my wife will get me plushies or like pencil kits or coloring books or
Mellows.
yeah, I like that kind of stuff. I have it downstairs. My kids have moved out, so I have the whole basement down there. Got my drum set, my guitars in there and everything. And I got a big setup in there. My boy's girlfriend, hopefully someday she'll be my daughter-in-law. But she's a really good artist. She went to Kent State, got a degree in art at Kent. She's got some really nice Pokemon things she's done for me. In fact, I've actually had prints made and helped her sell prints. She's really talented and such a good girl too. I love her so much. But it's just I like all that stuff. You know, it makes me feel. It reminds me of back when my kids were kids. Like, you know, instead of now they're all adults. They got car problems or they got girlfriend problems or boyfriend problems or whatever. You know, the problems don't go away; they just change. But like when they're kids, it's like playing video games. Oh, give me that back. You know, because we had 6 of them, and the competition amongst all the games and stuff was intense. Anyway, I think we're getting off course there, but
yeah. So there's one comment I threw up there for you. I'm guessing that must be one of your kids on watching the.
Which one?
My
boy Griffin. He's my oldest.
Okay.
Yeah,
talking about the
he's
hotel
referred to living in the hotels for 6 months. That's what he's
when we were talking about that. This is the other one I had up for a little bit, but we never really got to it, and that's from iFomo.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a question he asked.
Yeah, I don't think it's too late at all. We maxed out our Roth, and we, you know, I see. I'm in a precarious situation where I'm disabled, and I'm on Social Security, so I can only make so much money. So how I offset that is I have a stock fund that I sell, and it up until recently I have been able to sell that for a loss and harvest loss off of that because most of that was purchased at the beginning of the boom, and the market was suppressed at the time. So I was able to harvest loss out of that, and my wife puts 75% of her income into her 401k, so she has very little earned income. That plus the Roth conversion and Social Security, I got to keep it. I got to really manage how much I can make. That's another reason I don't have the ambition to have a huge business because, I mean, I have my medical and everything through Social Security, you know, and I have really good insurance. I don't really want to have to blow that, you know. But it's never too late to invest. I mean, people are living to be 80, 85 years old. My wife's dad, I think he's 84. And relatively good health. I mean, you never know when you're going to go, but I mean, I asked my wife, I said, when she thinks she wants to retire. I told her, you know, when you turn 60, if you want to, you can retire. It's a couple of years, but I don't think she will. But the longer you can put off Social Security, I mean, the better it is, because once you go on Social Security, you really can't make much money until they start taking dollar from you. I don't know if you're familiar how that works or not. But like if you earn, like you can earn money while on Social Security, but if you earn above a certain amount, they restrict some of your benefits. You know,
we had a guy that worked for us that was on Social Security, and he would work for us as much as we need him until he hit that dollar.
Yeah.
The second he hit that,
yeah,
you just come in and say, "I'm done for the year. I can't work." That's it.
And that's
So
really a bad. So that's really a bad system because I mean, who loses in the end? Social Security loses in the end because if you let that guy work and continue to get benefits, the employer and employee is going to pay Social Security benefits on that. You know,
yeah,
it's really
exactly.
a stupid system.
It is, but he was like that. He would be. I know my father-in-law's work has a guy that did the same thing. He was retired on Social Security. He would run his butt off. I mean, he'd run just like he was when he was a kid. And the second he hit that number,
Yeah.
sorry,
A
I'm
lot of
done.
older
Done for the
people are
year.
like this. And I
They have to
talked to
wait.
my wife. I said, you know, what are we going to do? You know, if we can get most of our money into our Roths, we can take that out, not be an issue. But I mean, if you get to be 75 in really good health, you know, how much are you going to need? I mean, someone goes into hospice care or has a stroke and has to have a nurse come to the house. I mean, you just can't prepare for that. You know, you never know when enough is enough. If you know when expiration date is, it's easy to prepare for that, but no one knows when that date's coming. So
Yeah, exactly. So,
looking at that comment there, I'll let you answer that first.
so hours per week that I spend doing or looking for plays or deals. Honestly, I can't really quantify it all that well because a lot of times it's just I'm walking through Walmart or Target and I'm looking at the products. Usually I'll grab my phone, try and find out what's inside of them, especially tins if you can identify it. You know, so a lot of times it just depends very, very much on what's in front of me. A lot of times I'll sometimes sit at the computer or whatever. I'm just got some free time and just sit there and kind of look through stuff and see what's around, see what's selling. You know, a lot of times just flipping between multiple sites. Pretty much my basic stuff is right now is that I know what products to be watching out for because I've done it so long. You just know what was in it, or you know, you've already kind of I'm doing a YouTube channel anyways. I'm talking about investment stuff. So I'm always already looking and dissecting stuff all the time for that. And a lot of times if I see that stuff out, so like these tins, I would say these tins here are still showing up at Walmart.
Yeah.
So these are still showing up at Walmart. There are 2 evolving skies in this bad boy, and they're on sale right now for $14.98.
I did not know that. I've seen that tin though.
Yep. There's 3 versions: the Sylveon, the Umbreon, and the
Espeon.
Espeon.
Yeah.
They're still showing up in the store, and there are 2 evolving skies, a Brilliant Stars, and a Fusion Strike pack.
Wow, I didn't know that. I did
so they're
not
$14.98.
I walk past those every day.
Yep, that's what I mean. You learn what's inside the tins, and you learn, okay, I can
it's like I said, he's asking how much time. Well, I probably spend 5 hours a day listening to podcasts. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Then I probably spend maybe a half hour checking Twitter because there's a couple really good X streams that'll tell you what's for sale right now here or there or whatever. And then I surf the net all day long because I have nothing else better to do, you know. But I probably go out during the week 5 times to make trips between Target, Walmart, seeing my wife or getting coffee with her, and then probably 5 hours a day listening to podcasts and just seeing, you know, again, what you just showed me is what I'm looking for. People to say, hey, this is out right now, you know, pick this up. And a lot of people are just too lazy to go do it, you know. Whatever,
That's
man,
just it.
I'll do it.
For me, it's really hard to quantify because sometimes when I'm doing service calls and that, I want to get out of the truck for a little bit because I just been running around doing nothing but work. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to go. Sometimes I'll just go to Walmart because it's nice just to go stretch. It's a good place to walk around. Walk down the Pokemon aisles. I can see what's there. And that's, like I said, that's where I run into that kind of stuff. And Family Dollar right now has those knockout boxes, the blue and yellow knockout boxes. They're $10. There is a Fusion Strike and an Evolving Skies in those.
Didn't know that. I never really got into the last knockout boxes I bought. Pokemon Center had the ones with Charizard in it, if you remember.
Yep.
And I bought, I don't know, 12 or 13 of those, and I put them in a box there downstairs. Or maybe those were theme decks. I can't remember what it was. It had
there was the Charizard theme deck.
Like a crystallized Charizard. He was sort of like,
it had the ice break pattern for the hollow.
Yeah, that's what I guess that was theme decks, I guess is what those were. But they had those, I think, for $9.99, and I bought a bunch of those. But I'm on Pokemon Center all the time because, man, you never know when things are going to go on sale. Oh, another thing I want to touch on, too. about sourcing product. I would advise anyone to go to a website called Forward to Me. You can get foreign addresses to have stuff shipped to. So when the felt hat Pikachu came out, I was able to get 12 of those when they first came out because I didn't buy them in America. I bought them on the UK website and had them shipped there because there's like an 8-hour, 6-7 hour time span between when they got that in the morning. We didn't get that until the afternoon, from my recollection. They came up about 11 o'clock, I think, our time. And I couldn't get anything there, but I managed to get 12 from the UK website. There's a Pokemon Center Japan. I can't read any of that. I can't figure that out at all. So I give up on that. But yeah, they have there's a lot of cool things on the UK website, but it's like heavy to ship. And there's, by the time you have it shipped over, it's not cost efficient, you know. But that goes back to sourcing product, talking about where you get product from. I look for all kinds of ulterior ways to get product, but mainly networking, though. You know, meeting those people, talking to those people, doing deals with people in other countries, and you form those bonds, because a lot of people are hesitant to do that. But once you do that once or twice with somebody, you feel secure with that person, and you basically have their business from there on out until you screw it up, you know.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is a lot of times the sourcing stuff. People don't realize how tentative that relationship can be. So if you say you're going to do something and you're trying to build relationships for sourcing, it's very important to follow through with everything you say you're going to do. Because the
No
second
doubt.
you screw one of them up, a lot of times too, them guys talk. People don't
Oh,
realize
yeah.
that too. A lot of the people that you're sourcing from are talking to all of your sources. So you screw it up and you make one of them mad. A lot of times that could kill 10, 12 branches of your sourcing. And it's very tentative on making sure the relationship's done right.
The Japanese sellers I've been dealing with over the course of the last year have gotten really smart. They've really jacked the prices on the promos up. They know what's going on, you know. But like when I got the Unagabas, I got those for 10 a pop. I think I bought 200 of them, and I put together sets, and I sold the sets for 200 for the set. And I think I got 12 or 13 sets maybe out of it, and then leftovers. I can't recall, but I mean, good luck trying to get those for 10 now. But even the newer promos coming out, you can't really get them at a good price, you know. And you got to pay for expedited shipping, because if you don't, it's going to take 2 weeks to come to you. And then by that time, you've missed the play because somebody else has already beat you to it. So you got to get in and get out and just move on to the next thing, you know.
That's another one of those markets when it comes down to US. I mean, a lot of people keep asking me too if I do stuff with Japanese. And I don't do plays with Japanese. I do long-term investment with Japanese stuff. If I'm buying it, it's going to be for a long term. I'm not expecting to be able to either, like you said, you got to buy enough volume to justify express shipping with a large amount, or you have to just wait 2 weeks and hope that the market doesn't get saturated in that 2 weeks where you still have a play. Plus, they're, like you said, they're getting smart over there now. These people that are willing to send and ship and bring that stuff across now are playing it just as well as you are, trying to get another bigger cut. So, you know, it's getting more and more difficult to find those things for sure.
I see iFOMO making a comment there. It says, did Dan grading them change your plans on the Unagabas? I actually was sold out of my Unagabas before Dan even got his. That's how fast I had them. I knew those were coming out. And I talked to people, when can you? There's another set of promos that come out too. They were a set of hair gel, Japanese hair gel. There was 9 of them. I'm trying to think of the brand. Kanto. No, it wasn't Kanto. Tanto, Tanto. If you look up those promos, I sourced those. The Pikachu is like a $40 card. No one even knew those existed. I found about them from PCTCG Radio. He says these are coming out, and it's like, there I am. I'm you know, texting. The issue with that is those people are 12 hours different from us. So you get them in the morning. It's nighttime for them, so you got to wait till the next day to get the response. But yeah, I picked up those. Those were real neat. They just have a stamp. I think it's Tanto, Tanto. Is the hair? They come in a hair gel, little things of hair gel, things they put Pokemon cards in. I don't know, but sure. No, I was already sold with mine before Dan got his, and I was a little proud about that because, you know, he has long-reaching tentacles, you know,
and to beat him out there.
Yeah.
But like you said, that PTCG radio, man, I don't know what his sources are or who they are or where he's sourcing that information, but
He gets it
he
first.
is beaten. He is first. He is beating everybody by sometimes a week. I think a lot of times the next stuff that comes out is using his information in order to put that
Yeah.
stuff out there. I
I,
think
I,
that any
that's
source
the
that's trying to
best
break
informative
news,
information out there for the stuff that's coming out. I don't know anybody that gets it before he does. And again,
I
if
don't
you
either.
want to build those connections, especially with the Chinese, he's really into the simplified Chinese too. And I don't really have a whole lot of contacts with that. There is a girl, Crystal Collects, you probably know. She's into the regular Chinese, which is Taiwanese and the other countries, non-simplified traditional Chinese, it's called. But she does a channel on that, and she collects Korean and stuff. And I like that stuff. I mean, if I was a collector, which I'm really not, but if I saw a Pikachu card that was $100 and I could get the same one for $5 that just had a different language on it, I'm going to take the $5 one. That's just me, because I don't have any intent to resell it as a collector. I think that's something that a lot of people have a problem with. They automatically only buy something because they think they're going to make money. And that's really, if that's why you're doing it, have a business with it. That's fine. But you're probably not going to be very successful, in my opinion.
That's just it. And I think that's why a lot of times now we're seeing a lot of these people falling out. Why we saw big fallouts on the Pokemon TCG after everything became more stabilized and more normalized. Because if you don't have a backing interest in it, and you're strictly here for money, it becomes boring extremely fast, and it's not as fast paced now that markets normalize. They're here when it's crazy because there's tons of money and things are flowing. But you can tell the people that are actually in it because they enjoy it versus just trying to make money. Granted, I want to make money. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to make some money, but I also have the intent of, building collection because I do have interest in it. I enjoy it. I enjoy looking at the cards and even opening packs for people. I enjoy doing it because I don't necessarily, for me, I don't even necessarily need to keep the cards. It's just cool to actually just to hold it one time. I said, even if I pull it, like my son sits there and goes, "How can you open up Evolving Skies? Because if you hit that Moonberry, are you going to be able to let it go?" And I said, "You want to know something? I would just be happy to touch it one time in my own hands, pulling it from a pack. That would be enough for me."
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the VMAX version. I've got 2 of the Vs. I love the V art a lot more than I like that VMAX art.
Yeah.
And overall, it's just the fact that I got the hold at one time. That's enough for me a lot of times. I don't need to have it. Roaring Moon, I've already pulled that one. The Bubble Mew, things like that. Would I love to have them for my own collection? Of course I would. It'd be fun to have. But it's not necessarily the right time to buy them at this point in time. It's a good time. That's what I keep telling them too. Even like Paldean Fades. We pulled the Charizard on TikTok. I've pulled the Bubble Mew a couple times. And he's just like, "Well, don't you want to keep that?" And I said, "Don't you want that for your collection?" I said, "Yeah. But I also want to use the market right now to take advantage of that to be able to just purchase it myself." I mean, I've opened it. I've pulled it. I'm good. I've seen it. Now I've had it in hand. I said, now I can wait until the price is right and we can just pick it up later. It's not like we have to buy it during the hype of the market. We can wait until it gets to become a little bit more reasonable in price and pick it up at a better price for our collection.
I think we're going to see a lot of people falling out of the market and putting a lot of this newer product, like from Sword and Shield era, going to come on pennies on the dollar because these people, they're not getting that instant gratification of flipping.
Yeah.
And they have all this stuff. It's like, well, man, I need to put a roof on my house. I might as well sell this. It ain't doing anything. And it's like, yeah, I'll pick it up on pennies on the dollar. Absolutely. That's how people build wealth. You're buying when those other people are selling. And it's like that, like with the coin shop and everything that I had, people would buy silver and gold the wrong way. They would wait for it to go up in value and get FOMO with it. It's like, I better get it now because it's going up instead of buying it when it's low. It's just exactly backwards. And they do it with Pokemon as well. You can buy, you can buy Brilliant Stars right now for a 143 on Pokemon Center. The day it comes off, you're not going to get it for 143 anywhere.
180.
Yeah. And it's like, so if you want it, you need to buy it now. But it's like, I'll just get it next week. I'll get it on payday or whatever. I don't know. The people,
like I said, I have even talked about that. I sit there and look at these late Sword and Shield sets, and there's such demand for them. once that restrictor comes off, there's no
Yes.
telling how far somebody's going to go. We've seen Brilliant Stars, even with the restrictor on, go up to almost $190. So what
Yeah, that's
happens
a
when the
good set.
restrictor's gone?
That's a
You know,
good set. I like that set.
oh, I do too. Lost Origins, another set. I really do enjoy the set too because it's got a huge Pikachu gallery on top of the Tina chase and that Aerodactyl chase on there. So there's two big chases in that one. And that one on its own, with the restrictors on, has pushed almost 170 on TCG Player. So what happens when the restrictors gone?
Yeah, maybe you can explain to me why things the dichotomy between TCG player prices and like eBay prices or Pokemon centers. Like, do these people not know all three of these exist? That you can like source them from three different areas, or I mean,
So I've heard multiple reasons for this. And the most reasonable one that I think I've kind of gotten out of it is number one, people just shop where they want to shop. Plain and simple. They buy a TCG player. They think TCG is the lowest place, so they just buy them. That's their feelings. The other factor is that eBay and TCG players offer international shipping. Pokemon Center does not. So the issue is like when we had to go up to almost $190 for Brilliant Stars,
mhm.
UK did not get their reprint of Brilliant Stars. They were extremely short on Brilliant Stars. It was actually going higher than that in Britain. So a lot of people figured that what was happening was they were coming into our TCG player, buying them for international
Okay.
shipping, paying
Mhm.
the international shipping to get it to them, and it was driving our price up kind of falsely
Yeah,
that they could do
by
it
default, basically.
by default. And then once they got a reprint, it was actually coincidental then, if that's not the truth. When they did get a reprint of Brilliant Stars there that we didn't get here, our price dropped. It went right down, like almost coinciding within a week or two of that, it dropped right out. So I think that partially that was the fact that they didn't get a reprint of it and we did, but because they were so short and it was so expensive at the UK at the time, they were using our market and paying the shipping to get it there. And it was probably still cheaper than them buying it on their own market. So that's part of the reason that I think is probably the most believable from what I saw from
It
the
makes
time
sense.
frame of it.
Yeah, it makes
It
sense.
does. And the same thing with eBay, because eBay was also driving up at that point, also because they offer international. Some sellers offer international shipping, so that's probably the bigger reason on why that did it at that point. Same thing with Lost Origins. The timing of that was pretty similar too, when it kind of pushes.
I
But I
like that
think if
set
you're
too.
looking,
I like that
oh, I
set.
do too. I think it's a really strong set. Also, those are probably my two favorite sets out of the last four, followed by Silver Tempest and Astral Radiance is probably the most lagging for me, just because it's just not a very strong set in general. The trainer gallery's weak. And I mean, you got that Machamp and the two
Mhm.
Origin form Dialga and Palkia, both of which have not really performed all that well.
But I don't open anything, Andy. I don't open anything
No.
other than like the promos that sell to people. Like I don't open any product. I keep everything sealed. I see people opening packs. It's like, oh my god, that hurts my head because 99% of the time they're not going to get anything out of it, and they've just spent $5. And it's just like I look at I am a collector. I guess I always say I'm not, but I am. I'm a sealed collector. But I'm also look at it as money as well, and it's like a lottery ticket, it's a scratch off ticket. Once you sell that ticket and scratch it off, you're probably going to lose. Now that ticket's worthless. But if you take that card pack, it's a scratch off ticket, and once you open up, it's probably worth nothing. But if you don't open it up, it has the potential to somebody else to be a winning scratch off ticket. So that's why I don't open anything. It's just I don't open packs. I've opened a couple years ago, not the last McDonald's set, but the set before that was the last time I opened a pack.
Okay.
That was the last time I opened a pack of cards. And
I still enjoy opening packs because my son and I do, and we build decks. I mean, I'm actually active in the playing part of it too, and I also am a collector, so I do. I always set a certain amount of money towards it though, and then I do have a stopping point. It's like new set comes out, we got $200. What are we doing with it? 200 if we don't get what we want, I just wait until the market drops and I buy it. So that's Nezo here just put up a comment that kind of backing what I was kind of saying. I feel like people get locked into buying from certain places. My LCS sells booster box and they're still on PC for $30 to $40 above MSRP. People still buy. I find it strange, but people do it. And it's true. People are into their habitual ways, and that's just it. They got the quick tab for TCG player. They assume TCG player is going to be the rock bottom pricing because a lot of times for a lot of stuff they are. I mean, they have some really good sales and pricing's really low even in Scarlet and Violet, but it doesn't mean it's the end all be all and that there isn't places to shop around it, but people are just comfortable and they buy it. As for LCSs, I will buy stuff $20 to $30 over MSRP from them just because I know I'm supporting a local business too.
Mm-hmm.
That's another factor. I'll go buy a booster box from them even for, Scarlet and Violet stuff, and they'll be selling it for $135 or $130. And I'm okay with it just because I know I'm supporting them and I want that LCS to stay there. And that's what a lot of people will do also. They know consciously, we know it's cheaper other places, but on the other hand, we know it's going to a local good cause. And I'll do that too. Like even the Palday and Fates ETB is, I could get them online for $38, but I still bought 2 of them from them for $50. It's just like, I'm supporting local business and I want them to be successful. If I have to spend a little extra money to keep them there, so be it. I'm willing to do it a little,
We don't have a place close to me, a card store close to me, probably within 30 miles. So I don't really go to a card store. I definitely understand what you're talking about because, like, I was a local coin store, and then I had one competitor who had been here ever since I was a kid, entrenched, and I was never going to take over that market. But I carved out my own niche by treating people fairly, paying fair prices, charging fair prices, and being personable, honestly appreciating their business, which is exactly what you're talking about on the other end. You recognize you're supporting that person. That's how they're making their living. And there's going to come a time that you're going to need something from them and they're going to be able to provide it for you, and that works both ways.
It does. And I mean, even that's what I talked about for a long time. And we've stopped doing it a little bit in the Scarlet and Violet era just because, there's other places to shop and he gets it too. But for a long time there, he was always saving me back a booster box at cost or 2 cases of booster boxes because when they had that big deluge, and based on talking about a lot of the card shops we'll talk about when the end of 2021 where they had celebrations coming and all of a sudden they dumped Chilling Reign, Battle Styles, they dumped all these sets, Evolving Skies. That's where I got my Evolving Skies for dirt cheap. Was the fact that he was so buried. And I had been talking to the guy for since 2019. I knew the owner of the shop because I was playing battle decks all the way since Unbroken Bonds. And I went to him and I said, hey, I kept bugging him. Like, can you give me better prices on these booster boxes?
I remember you talking about that he would give you a couple cases at cost or something like that.
Yeah. So when that when that big just dumping where he had no cash, he had everything because pretty much the distributors went, well, you ordered it because they were buying double to try and get the quantities they wanted. Well, then they went and delivered all the rest of the quantities that they had from the distributors that they had ordered. So they had them on order. So they forced them to take them. And he was so short on cash, so unavailable on cash at that point in time. And I came in, he called me. Yeah, he had my number from other tournaments. He called me and went, dude, I know that you were willing to do that before I couldn't do it, but he said, will you buy, all these cases as much as you can take? I'll give it to you for whatever I paid for it. Since then, since I helped him out for like 2 years after that, he was willing to just keep 2 cases back for every set that I could get at cost, which was really cool. It gave me that investment position I was looking for in him to just be able to sit on him for a long period of time. And once again, it's just really that's that relationship we talk about. You can build relationships very quickly. Scarlet and Violet, he actually has really reduced the amount of product he's been buying intentionally. And so I just haven't pushed for it. I could always do it, but it's just one of the things like I'm not in any rush for it. It's not a big deal in Scarlet and Violet. The market has changed a little bit where it's not like I really need that in order to make, my investment ahead of time. And because let's be honest, a lot of the Sword and Shield boxes were never sold in secondary markets for under $100 for quite a long time.
Now I remember Mason making a video. He was in his warehouse or someplace. He had cases and cases and cases of Chilling Reign and said, I can't get rid of this stuff. About a month later, he said he's broken down every 3-pack blister, everything he has, and he had no product. I mean, in a matter of I exaggerate, it was more than a month, but it was like that. He went from all this product to having nothing.
Exactly. It went right back the other way.
It's hard to have a brick and mortar because first, you can't necessarily rely on the people to buy the same thing every set. So how do you make an order for that? You order too much, then you get screwed. If you order enough, you get screwed, or not enough. That's got to be difficult.
And that's just it. I would never go to the point of an LCS. I mean, I just couldn't deal with the unpredictability of the set, of the demand. I mean, some sets you're the hero because you have enough, or have over. The next set you're a chump because you didn't order enough, and then the following set you order too much and you're losing at your butt. So I mean, it's just like it's really difficult to find that sweet spot. I just know my local LCS for all releases just buys pretty much the same amount and just goes, if I run out, I run out. And if I have enough, I have enough. Whatever happens, I mean, this is what I've got, and that's it.
I
He
tell you
orders
what, I like to
100.
listen to Mason for when he gets his allocations. I like to hear what his allocations are. You
Yeah.
can't necessarily go by that, but it's interesting to hear. Well, I'm a little bit light. I didn't get quite as much as I asked for on this set, or I mean, I don't know. You can read something into that, maybe not.
Yeah.
But I like to listen to that.
I was even like Paldean Fates listening to Eli from Pokemart and from Mason. They both were saying that the allocations are limitless. They could buy whatever they wanted, which
Yeah,
tells you how heavy that set was going to be out.
yeah,
And look at it. I mean, even now we're a month out of release and it's still $38 UTVs. So
yeah. I don't think you
realistically,
can go
they're
wrong at that price. I mean, the best ETB thing I had was 2 Christmases ago. Target had Lost Origin and not Battle Styles, Brilliant Stars on sale for $20 a piece. That was their Christmas special at the Target where I was at. I bought them all. $20. Go wrong with $20. Maybe someday I'll have grandkids to open them. Worst case scenario. I'm still waiting for grandkids. I don't have any of them yet. I can't wait to have one.
got to be getting close.
My oldest is 31. He's been married for, I think, 12 years now. They don't want children. My daughter has gone through issues right now with her husband. And then none of my other kids are married. So I don't know. You got to want those kids, you got to, I mean, I remember wanting a little baby in the worst way. And I met my wife and she wanted to have a family with me. And I remember when Griffin was born, he was the one that was on here. That was the best day of my life. Second best day of my life was when my second one was born. Third best day was when my third was born. And it's just down the road. It's just like, it's unexplainable. You have your kid. That's your kid. You made that kid. That kid relies 100% on you to take care of that child, and that's wow. That's just crazy.
Then eventually they talk back to you all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And when they're my one boy went to go see his girlfriend and they were out running around and he got a flat tire and he called me up. He says, "What do I do, Pops?" I said, "What do you mean? What do? You call AAA? You got AAA, right?" "Yeah, I'm calling to put the spare tire on." He says, "Well, I don't have a spare tire." And it's like, well, that's a problem, because I guess
you got an issue.
Vehicles don't all have spare tires nowadays. They don't have donuts or anything, But it's just like their problems are small when they're small, and they get big when they get big, And
All of them.
Yeah. How old is your oldest? You only got one boy, right?
I have 2 boys.
You have 2 boys.
I got 2 boys, 1 girl. My oldest son Jacob is going to be 9 here in about 2 weeks. So he'll be 9. Abby, she is 6 currently, and Matthew is 4.
Oh, they're still young. Oh, yeah. Man, enjoy those times, Andy. My gosh,
I enjoy spending all the time I can with them.
They're going to be gone to prom before you know it. Trust me.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So one last thing here, Terry, because we're getting a little bit late here. I did want to talk to you about. So I'm going to just go over the quick points real quick. Kind of like a little. It's a good way to do a little flash sale here at the end of this thing. Talking about the 6, I had 6 different points, 6 different situations where I kind of sent to you about where people probably are currently in Pokemon TCG. These are just kind of steps I've taken and where I could see things going. So just to give people an idea for where they should maybe start out, what kind of business you would suggest, and then what kind of, what do they want to say? What kind of tax scenarios you should be looking at. So should you be doing it yourself? Should you be looking at an accountant? That type of thing. So.
Well, you got to make a lot of money to be able to afford an accountant, first off, because they're not cheap. And they're not doing anything you can't do yourself with a little bit of research. Like I said, the software nowadays is very easy to do, and it's very inexpensive too. I think it's like $89 to do your federal or state or something. It's not very much money. But anyway, I think people should focus growing it naturally, organically, slowly, not being in a hurry to put this business together and grow slowly. report that money on your Schedule C as a sole proprietor. If it gets to the point where you desire to have a local coin or local card shop, then you can look into other methods. But I think sole proprietorship, Schedule C, keep track of everything. You can't go wrong.
No. And I mean, that would probably cover, like I said, number one, I was going to say is just selling straight or buying and selling singles on eBay and TCG.
Yes. Yeah.
Very,
TCG
very
player,
simple,
Facebook.
basic business. Once again, doing me with sole proprietorship with just doing standard, do your own taxes. I mean, just keep track of a chart, do a Schedule C.
Mm-hmm.
Number two was doing the same thing, but sourcing, grading cards, sending to PSA, and then selling. There's another little in-depth part of it with the PSA section. But once again, I think sole proprietor, my opinion was sole proprietor. Once again, keep track of your information on like an Excel sheet or something like that, and then simply enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Third one was buying and selling sealed products using several different sources and sales venues. This is where you can use all three of those, adding in the sealed product side. A lot of times, the one thing I do like about using other venues such as TikTok, TCG Player, and eBay, those kind of sources, is a lot of times that information is already taxed, so you don't have to worry about the sales tax part of it. You don't have to do any of that stuff. So once again, you could go with a sole proprietorship on this, depending on the amount of money that you have starting to go through this. You could start looking at maybe taking advantage of some of that LLC or S Corp stuff and C Corp point at this point. But once again, that's kind of borderline depending on the sales volume. If you're
Something we didn't discuss, I'm going to touch on. I know we're trying to wrap this up, is about keeping separate records. Like I run all my money through my personal bank account. I just keep track of it on paper. You know what I mean? A lot of people want to have a dedicated bank account, and that's probably the way it'd be easiest for you that way. You go open a separate checking account, get a 2% cashback card, which I use for everything. And then just keep separate records like that. I don't do that because my wife doesn't write checks. She doesn't do anything in a checking account. I do it 100% my own. Going back to the last thing, don't discount opportunities to buy things on sale through like Best Buy on sale or GameStop or places like that, because a lot of those places are always running sales. I go Sunday morning, I go on all those websites to see what they got. So just to add on to that.
And I have a separate account for each one. Each one of our businesses has its own separate account because I just like taking like the QuickBooks. I got the cheaper QuickBooks system, and that way I can just reconcile. I put it in, I reconcile it, bring it right into QuickBooks. It takes all that. I just place it where it goes, and it's done. I can do
someday. Maybe I'll learn how to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. QuickBooks is nice. I just have my checkbook or my checking account hooked to it. It pulls my checking account in, and I just tell it this is this, this is this, this is this. I kind of break it down a little bit sometimes. That's it. Very, very simple that way. That's why that Excel sheet ended beginning of January. It's like it's getting too complex and too much time consuming for me to type all that in. When I can just reconcile, pick and place, and it's done. It saves me about an hour and a half at the end of the month just dealing with typing. So yeah, I mean that's basically what I do. I have separate accounts for all the businesses just to keep everything clean, and that way when I'm doing my Schedule C and trying to do my deductions, I can just keep everything separate and clean. And like I said, I have a cashback card. That's why you saw those credit card payments on there. That was me just paying off my monthly credit card on there, just getting them.
2%. That's a lot of money if you pay a lot of bills.
So one of my cards has 5% off at Best Buy.
Oh wow!
So they specifically have it with Best Buy, so it's like 5% off of all my purchases at Best Buy. That's saving 5%
nice.
Right there. Yeah. That's otherwise, nice. It's 2% on most of the other ones. Are all cashback cards. So that's like I said, take advantage of them, but make sure you don't ride it past the.
Absolutely, don't pay that.
You pay the interest. You just threw out the 2% and you lost. So don't make sure you have the money to pay that off right away, or the 2% means nothing. And then we go down to the next one, which is the ones that get a little bit more questionable whether or not where point you get an account. I thought at this point would be
you probably need one because you're really busy.
Me? Well, I got one for the HVAC business anyways because of all the employees and stuff like that. It's just easier to have them take care of it. And then, like I said, I do my own personal for the farm and this, and then I just have her review it just to make sure that I don't screw anything up. Just as a
I did use ADP for the payroll when I had my restaurant because I didn't have time to do all that. Yep. Like you just call the hours up to ADP with the payroll. They paid all of your payroll taxes for you. and it's like no hassle. I think they charge $50 a pay, and we paid every other week. So it was a good bang for the buck. Because I mean, I was working 70, 75 hours. Last thing you want to do is have to do that too, you know.
Oh yeah, that's just it. You don't want to have to go home and then go and try and do a couple more hours of tax stuff or employment tax and everything else. So, next one I got here was going to be a partner with with all the stuff about. So if you're starting to get into a partnership where you're starting to create a business that has partnerships, to me, in Wisconsin, you do a general partnership, but to me, this is when you're really going for that LLC, where you're going for that S corp or C corp, depending on whichever one works best for your numbers. When you start talking about partners, like we have general partnership in Wisconsin, but to me, partnerships are better with a C corp because a lot of times someone will establish a business. So a lot of times someone will already have an established business, established working, and then someone has something to offer. Maybe they got a distributor contact or they got something to offer to the business that could make it go better or more assistance to the business. But you don't want to give them 50-50 split. A lot of times, in my experiences, someone already has something built and the next person's coming in and offering something, but not necessarily enough to justify 50%.
Right.
For that S Corp can really come into play because then you could sell them 50% or 25%, 20% of the shares. Like our business, we have guys that have worked there, so they've got 3% ownership in the business.
Oh, very nice. That's good that you do that.
That way they got incentive to do better because they're getting 3% of whatever.
Yeah, that's really good that you do that.
Yeah, and that's great. That's one of them good uses for an S corp, and that's the same thing here. You might bring in a partner that can offer 20% value to the business.
Mm-hmm.
You give them 20% of your shares for the business for the opportunity to get that capitalization inside of there. So this is where we're starting to get into more of that S corp.
Yeah.
Area.
But anytime you have a partner, you're gonna. I mean, you can't do sole proprietor. You have to do some sort of corporation. And most of the time, an S corp will cover that. Unless again, like you got something like you got going on, you're going to people's homes and stuff. Are you got to be bonded to do that?
Not in Wisconsin. The only time we have to be bonded if it's commercial.
Okay.
So commercial, we have to go commercial or industrial. We have to be bonded. Residential, we do not. We do 95% of our business is residential. So yeah, no, we don't have to do much with the bonding in Wisconsin, anyways, for that. Next situation that I had on here was going to be number 5, which is opening a small brick and mortar LCS with a 3 to 4 employee load. So once again,
you got to have a lot of inventory to start that. You got to have the inventory to do that, So, I mean, whether you have a big collection, and if you don't have a big collection, where are you going to source that inventory? You have to staff a store like that. And then are you going to be there how trustworthy are those employees when you're not there? All those things come into play because, if employee doesn't think they're getting the right amount of money, they're going to find a way to get the right amount of money. And if you can't be there all the time, and once you get a good employee, if you pay them well, normally they're loyal. It's the ones who don't want to play by the rules that are always a problem, and just to replace them ones,
Yeah, you definitely got to source through employees just as you do with cards. Some of them are really good, and you want to keep them and you want to use them. Other ones, we've done that here. You get them about 3. That's why we always have a 90-day trial period before we even offer any kind of benefits. And that's the fact is that at some point. And sometimes they're damn good employees. They do their job extremely well, but sometimes they're just not cohesive with the business and the other employees too. So there's always those hard decisions. There's always some things going on when it comes down to employees and trying to hold on to an employee because they're maybe good at their job, but they don't work well with others is another one of them situations where
as soon as you inherit employees, you inherit a human resource department for your business as well.
You do. Absolutely. And this kind of scenarios where I'm saying LLC because you got a brick and mortar with employees, and LLC is almost a necessity at this point.
Yeah,
just for the protection levels that come with that, with having people in a building, and tax wise, to me, when you start getting employees like that, like we were just talking about earlier, you start adding employees. Personally, I think you 100% need to start looking at accountant number 1 for that payroll side of things because. In Wisconsin, everything is monthly now, so trying to keep up with that monthly on top of your normal workloads, making sure the scheduling's right, making sure all that stuff is taken care of for that stuff. It's definitely a situation where you need to start looking at upping your game and preparing for those kind of costs to be able to handle it. Unless you really have that much time, but I know as a business owner myself,
if you have a card shop, there's a good or a good chance that you might have minors working for you, and you have to be aware of the minors law. You know
Correct.
how late can a 15-year-old work? How many hours a week can a 16-year-old work? And even if you're just sorting them, just have them sort cards. You know, it's there's so many laws nowadays. I mean, yeah, I've always been anti-accountant. You know, I get on Dan about that all the time. But I also look at that now through the eyes of somebody who has nothing but time on his hands. I don't look at the time that you guys don't have. And that's why you have accountants, because you don't have the time to do that, you know?
Well, even like Dan, Dan works for himself a lot, and he, works for himself. He doesn't have employees. He doesn't know his house. Once again, those are scenarios where when you give Dan crap about that, I could definitely see. If, even to me, if I'm in my house and I'm doing this stuff, be honest with you, I'm not going to hire an accountant. When I start dealing with employees or partners and things like that, that's when you're getting to the point where you really should be considering it, in my opinion. Otherwise, maybe Dan's got a silent partner. I don't know. I don't think he does, but I mean, Terry's actually his silent partner.
That. he's not shy about having a sugar mama.
No, so yeah, like I said, I just think maybe his wife's a partner. I don't know, but when you start,
I'm pretty sure he did say they're 50-50. And I think he said they have an LLC, and I think they're 50-50, he said.
And I'm sure that they are. I mean, it makes sense. Typically, this is the only thing that I've ever done that my wife isn't part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of did that intentionally just because she doesn't really have any knowledge in it. And like we said, if something were to happen, there were some different reasons behind us not doing that. So, in personal reasons that she just didn't want to be on this type of a business format. She's also does an online digital where she's selling stuff online, like Pampered Chef and that kind of stuff.
Oh, cool.
And she has her name only on that too. So we kind of broke it when we did the kind of the online stuff. We kind of separated at that point for the first time.
So do you guys do two separate Schedule Cs? One for hers?
Yeah.
Okay.
One for hers, one for me.
Okay.
On these businesses, and I get my W-2 from the HVAC business, so that's a W-2 on that one. Because technically, Dad's still the 100% owner on that. We're slowly going to start shifting that here this year, but I'm just salary there, and I said I probably would just keep it salary at where I'm at. There's no point. I'm way under market value, anyways. So, but I get all the other benefits too of being able to hide some costs in the business for my personal living, just like anybody else. So
very cool.
Anybody else in business can hide some things that you can't do as an employee,
right?
So yeah, that's some of the things we're in a transition period when it comes down to that. So it's going to be interesting over the next 2 to 3 years how this is all going to transition out. But I know he'll be turning 67 next year. So then my mom also will be fully retired at that point also. So that's kind of what we're waiting for the transition to happen. The last one I got for a scenario, and I just want to hear what your opinion is on this one, is someone like Mason. So if you've got like running a large LCS, and that sells both brick and mortar online, you've got 10 to 25 employees, partners in multiple locations.
First thing I would advise is both of those locations be their own corporation. Do not have them tied to the same one. Like, you can do, like we had two sub S's, both different names, both completely different sets of taxes. Because if you run them one together, now you're just putting your liability in 100% of a bucket. Again, me being in food service, someone can die at that. Being in a card shop, maybe someone gets cut on a piece of glass on something, but there's no shortage of people wanting to sue people out there for who knows what. Or maybe you have an employee mopping a floor and someone slips and gets hurt really bad. Now you have both businesses at risk because you didn't separate them. That would be the thing that I would definitely be one of the first things that you would do.
To me, that makes 100% sense, because I was going to ask you about that, if that would be a smart thing to do, because I knew you ran two different businesses at the same time. Same thing if you did separate them, because it makes sense. I mean, that way you're putting the liability factor, the LLC, on each one, and makes them all independent. So they can't sue this one and try and take everything from the other one into it.
Right.
So you may end up losing one business because of the situation, but you won't lose both of your businesses to that same lawsuit, because there will be that barrier. The problem is, I think a lot of people don't understand the power of that barrier that's actually there, and what that actually means for your business.
It's huge. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you work for your whole life for your house. And like we had a Mexican restaurant chain, big chain here in Pittsburgh area years ago, who they didn't do anything wrong, but they got onions that had E. coli, and they washed them and everything, but it still had E. coli on them. And people died up here from it. Many people died from it. And that business went like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
those people didn't do anything wrong. They prepared, and that's how I did. We took raw ingredients and cooked pizzas. Someone gets sick and dies. If you're not incorporated, you're going to lose your home, for one, that you worked your whole life for, and something maybe you didn't even do anything wrong. Maybe it was out of your hands. So I would just say, don't put yourself at risk for exposure if you don't have to.
Yeah. And that's a big, like I said, that's a big factor with the LLCs, is that people don't, when it comes down to businesses and how things actually operate, a lot of people don't realize that you can actually bubble everything off. So
Mhm.
even like us, we could bubble the HVAC business with an LLC. We could bubble a Pokemon business with an LLC. We could bubble our farm with an LLC. And what you're doing is, the best way I've ever heard is just like I'm saying it. You create bubble barriers. Everything becomes encompassing inside of that bubble. So whatever happens in that bubble can affect the other bubbles around
Right.
it. It just might pop that bubble,
Mhm.
but at least your house is separated from all these different potential workings that are going on. So even like the farm, we might be going to an LLC here probably in the next year or two, because we are looking at doing farm to table, which means my wife is going to be opening up a little shop on the property where people are starting to come to the property. We're going to have people on the ground here for that. And if that's the case, we'll probably be putting farm into an LLC too, just
Yeah.
because of the fact that it creates that in a bubble. So like you said,
Right.
someone goes off and wanders off and trips over a gate or falls over and gets
Falls
hurt
into
or
a
breaks it
stream,
up.
if you have a stream, and it gets hit their head on a rock and drowns or something. Strange things
Yeah,
happen, man. And
it does.
it's a shame for people to lose everything they have when they didn't do anything wrong.
Exactly. And that's exactly why we're probably to that point too with the farm next year, is that will probably go to an LLC, just because of the fact that if we are going to open a shop, like I said, someone could come in and drop a piece of, drop a steak on their foot and break their toe.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, that was on your property and it was your steak. So, as dumb as it sounds, that they dropped it, it was their fault, and you could probably maybe fight that. But the fact of the matter is your whole livelihood is on the line if you don't have that barrier, put that business in a bubble until you
I
can
actually got sued at my pizza shop for a slip and fall that actually didn't happen. I had cameras out in front of my store, and we had a
eh,
computer system to take orders. I told this story that one day I get a letter from an attorney in the mail that says I'm being sued for slip and fall from this person. And it's like, I looked at the film for that date. No person was out there, because like we really didn't have a walk-in business. It was all delivery. So it was walk-in business, maybe 20, 25 people a day. And she never showed up. And I had insurance with Nationwide. I told them, I said, do not pay this out. That person was never here. And they said, Terry, look, it's best just to give them $5,000 and be on their way. It's the cheapest for us to get out of it. Because if you have to litigate it, it just ain't worth it. We just give them $5,000 and they're gone. And that's wrong. You
it
know,
is. It's wrong to the point, that's what we even talked about when it came down to a lot of stuff too, that we've had scenarios when you go with the insurance agencies, they kind of give you scenarios of what might happen. And I just always laugh about it, because I even laugh at the guy. I'm just like, so basically what you're telling me is, unless it's over $20,000, we're not even going to do anything. It's way wrong. I mean, they can literally say that we dropped a furnace on their foot on their property, even though they weren't even home, and we're going to pay it out
yeah,
because you don't want
because
to
it's
sit there and
cheaper for
fight
them
that.
that way. It's a business decision for them.
It is, because they said, well, then we're going to pay lawyers, we're going to take time. And I'm like, well, no, something, that's how bad the law system is when it comes down to it. You should be able to charge that person for your time and energy. And they
You
can. A
absolutely
lot of
should.
times, and they
I
really
think you
can't in
should
the law
have the
system.
right to sue anybody for any reason you want to, but if you do not win that case, you have to pay the whole defendant's resources, whether their attorney, their time they missed off work, or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, whatever the costs were incurred to be able to sue someone, it would really slow
Hmm.
down a lot of these lawsuits, because some people just know you can sue
Hmm.
and
Oh
win
yeah, they've done it
for
a
a
couple
certain amount.
times.
Yep.
They've done it
So,
a couple times.
oh yeah, they know it. They know the tricks, and that's just it. So, Well, those were the real points that I had with you, Terry. Like I said, I just want to kind of go over the business aspects of it for people that are definitely starting out. There's going to be, I think, a lot more people in this hobby that are transitioning into more business types. And it's really good for them to hear different directions and why you would do things the way you would do them when it comes down to these businesses. And hearing it from multiple people, like I said, you and I, I think we were pretty much on the same track just
We
from
are. I mean, we're like mirrors, you know. I didn't realize you
but
were as versed with taxes as you are, to be honest with you.
uh,
You're on point.
yeah, I like I said, I'm the when it comes down to the big business, I don't. But I actually had my first startup there for a while, before all the shit went downhill on that. I did all my own taxes on that. Like you said, it wasn't very difficult on that end. Had the LLC and stuff like that because the fact it was a machine company had people in there. But no, I was doing K1s a lot of times for my side of things too, and I had employees and stuff like that. And even with 2 employees, it was pretty manageable to be able to keep up with it. That was in Colorado, so the laws were a little bit different for that state than they are in Wisconsin. But overall, like I said, there's different business scenarios. There's as you grow into this hobby, and it seems like I'm seeing more and more people transitioning more into that business. Even I've done it. I mean, before I was just strictly investment, and now it's like, you know what? Times are different. I was doing the sales beforehand, before the boom, and I never really got big enough to where I was ready to go into a business. And it's like now I'm coming out of the boom again, and things are more stabilized. It's becoming more of a how do I get my next collection piece? Well, grind her out with bulk, or I'm going to be flipping and, like I
That's the
said,
natural
finding them
progression
products.
of it. You know, that
Really
people
is.
want to jump in and have this business. No, do what you're doing. Natural progression of this. Start as a collector. Sell a couple cards to buy a card. Next thing you know, you're sourcing cards in bulk to do this and to do that. And that's how you build your business right there. Before you know it, you have a business.
Mhm. And that's the bigger thing is that, like I tell people, it's not a rushing game a lot of times. And I'm
Mm-mm.
amazed that you don't have to come out with $200,000 trying to buy all this inventory to start a business in Pokemon, especially. The natural progression is like you said. It's amazing how many contacts and how many of those wires get connected in your
Yes.
business as you're continuing to just start out. So I started off, I wasn't even a collector when I came back. I was a player. I went right back to playing battle decks and going back to my LCS and starting to play
Oh,
because that's
cool.
what I left the hobby as. I used to save sealed product because like I told you before this, I just like sealed stuff. I
Yeah.
like trying to keep sealed stuff around. And
Yeah.
even that Halo helmet ticks me off because it got water damage. That's the only reason that thing's on the shelf. The box is still down here. It was sealed in that box forever, but my floor got wet in the spring one time. We had like 4 inches of rain in a week, and the box was at the bottom on pallet it was on had a crack in it. It was sitting in it, so the tip was wet. So it's like that helmet's been sealed since 2008. That was just who I am. I like sealed stuff. And I did that even when Pokemon back in two. I didn't expect monetary value out of it. I just thought it was really cool to keep sealed. But I was a player. I played Pokemon all the way from 2000, all the way from 1999 when it first came out to 2006. I played Magic from 96 all the way until 2006. I stayed in the hobbies and I played them for a really long time. And when I came back, that's exactly what I went back to. I was comfortable with playing and I went back to playing Pokemon. Then I started collecting because, hey, this stuff's kind of nostalgic. This is kind of cool. I like this card. I like these cards. I like my
Mhm.
Flareons. I like these certain things. And you just started collecting them. And then I went to, well, this stuff is going to be valuable. Hidden Fates came out. Wow, look at this set. It's going to be really, really valuable. Now I'm starting to keep sealed product because it looks
Yeah.
cool and it's fun to have. And then, like you said, that progression just continued to happen and it
And
continues to
before you
grow.
know it, you have a business. That's how you build the business right there. You know,
And this is how
not a
you end
race.
up
Like
with a
you said,
hobby
it's
business.
not a
Exactly.
race. You just do
No.
what you enjoy and it'll happen on its own. And if you get to the point, you'll know when you're at the point if you want to have a shop. I don't think many people are going to get to that point because I don't think it's very lucrative. Talk to anybody that
No.
has one. The first advice they give you is don't get one. You know,
Everyone I talk to, don't do this.
don't do it. You know,
No.
but I mean, if you get to that point, you know, I think if you really want to do that, you need to do it because if you don't do it and wished you did, you're never going to know, and you're always going to be wondering if you could have pulled it off. This is coming from an older guy now who had some things in his life I wished I would have tried because I look back and said, man, I wish I'd have tried that. I think it's better to attempt it and fail and then to never attempt it and wondering if you could have succeeded with certain things, you know. And I think
Exactly.
if you have the income, you have the supplies, and you have the distribution, which from what I understand is difficult to get nowadays. is difficult to get distribution. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I've heard.
I haven't been able to find a good source for distribution. I mean, I got one that I literally pay a monthly fee to get into it, kind of
Yeah.
like Eli's. But I mean, there's people that are just using their own, and part of me is like, yeah, I'm getting good pricing on it, and I buy enough to make it justifiable. But on the other hand, all you're doing is helping them. I mean, you're really not helping yourself, and you're really not building anything.
Yeah, because when you're buying that allows them to get more allocation and
reduces
we're
their
all in the
pricing,
same
and they
team.
get different too. So,
we're all in the
and I'm
same
okay with it at the size. I mean, I used to say if I got big enough, I'd probably start doing like Joe at Echo Base even did. Just keep calling every one of them over and over and over again until someone just gets tired of hearing from you and goes, "Yeah, just fine, we'll do it." Just stop calling me. So, I'm surprised Mason didn't pop up when we were talking about opening.
Yeah, I get a kick out of him.
Oh, he's funny. He's probably listening.
Him having all that chilling rain and saying, "What am I going to do with it? I can't get rid of it." Then, like a month later, he was talking about how he ripped all his ETBs to get packs out. He didn't have any packs, and that just shows you how fast. I mean, whether you're on top of it or not, the things happen in the market, and they happen so quickly. From set to set. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, I have no urge to do that.
No, I don't either. Like I said, I just like it. Like I said, even now, it's what I've talked about a lot of times. Is being a hobby business is that if I want to go on vacation, you just shut everything off and I go on vacation. I don't have to worry about trying to make payroll. I don't have to make any kind of payments to anything. I just have to sell, like I said, $160 a month worth of cards or booster packs profit in order to be able to cover all my expenses, and that's it. So I mean,
everyone's happy.
Yep, and I could always sit there and cancel that too, and always cut because I got binder POS for my TCG player and eBay, so I could always just sit there and go, I'm canceling that too. I don't need to pay for that any longer. It's $100.
I don't use TCG player at all. I've bought off of there before. I've never sold on there. I try to source bulk cards on there of certain individual cards, and it seems when you get like 20 or 30 from one person, they've already been pre-screened. That you're not going to get any 10s out of that, So I've given up on TCG player.
I don't try and source any gradable cards off a TCG player. A place I used to really like doing that was Toad and Troll, because you could actually buy the whole lot from someone, bring them in, and then you could screen through them and then return the ones you didn't want. Right. So you just
I've had no luck with TCG player with that, so I've given up on that.
No, I don't try and source anything off a TCG player. eBay, I do a lot of sourcing on. Then they can get all the pictures or ask for more pictures or really examine the card before you buy it. Local sourcing, a lot of LCSs. I know people around here that are got some vintage stuff too that I've been sourcing on. And then some other online clients. You can go through and actually find some people that are really good at sourcing. And, Facebook, I've met a lot of people on Facebook.
I do a lot of kept in Facebook.
Yeah, where you could source from. So if you're looking for sourcing for cards, Facebook would probably be the number one spot that I would suggest getting sources for it that are reliable, that you can say, I'm looking for some really clean cards. They'll send you pictures of
feedback pages. I have a feedback page and stuff. And I mean, you still have people who've never dealt with it's apprehensive about spending $5 on a card. It's like, man, really? They ask, if they're one asking a bunch of questions, they're probably going to be a problem. It's just, I've heard Dan even say that, the people on eBay that ask a lot of questions, those are the ones that are always one filing a case against them, I don't know. It's just, come on, it's 50 cents. I'm selling you a 50-cent card. What do you want?
Yeah, you want my firstborn child's name and stuff? So I FOMO. You had to put that up there. I can tell you guys something. I buy my cards off a TCG player because I know you guys don't. I got very lucky recently. Oh, that's all right. My experience on TCG player, if I'm trying to source cards for something, it's 1 out of every 50 is probably usable that they missed in their screening process, I feel. So if you've gotten lucky, congratulations. It's just I've been like 1 out of 50. I find if I buy 50 of one card, one of them would be actually, and it's usually the low end guy. So if I'm buying from the guy with the lowest rating, the smallest, because I'm looking for that guy because he's
exactly what I'm doing. I can get 20 or 30 at the cheaper the prices is what I'm looking for.
Yep, not looking for that guy with 10,000 or 100,000 sales because he's pre-screening everything that goes
every
out of
one
that
of
building. So But yeah, otherwise, Terry, I've reached the end of my stuff. Do you have anything else that you'd like to
Yeah,
add
I
in?
just want to say thank you very much for having me on your channel. I really appreciate that. Like I told everybody, I went from just being someone posted a couple comments. I think this is my 5th podcast I've been on. I'm enjoying it. Feel like a little mini celebrity, for an old guy like that, hanging out with you kids. I think I had a couple things I could teach you guys and some things I can learn from you. And I just want to put out there, I have a Facebook page, my name, Terry Lake, and I have an Instagram, Terry Lake, and I have a YouTube channel, Terry Lake. You can reach me if you have any questions about anything. I have nothing but time on my hands to answer your emails and messages if you have a question about anything, or if you just want to say hi. I appreciate it. Like I really do. I really enjoy the time I spend on here.
Oh, absolutely. And I will make sure that I link all that stuff down below too, so that anybody who
Thank
comes
you.
across this can be able to find you and have the questions. Like I said, I know Terry, you answered your Instagram extremely quick when I tried to get a hold of you too. So he does answer very quickly on it whenever you get to him. So yeah, definitely a wealth of knowledge when it comes down to it. Like I said, your experiences have been
Most of the time,
really
all you
great.
find on my Instagram is pizzas, though. I make pizza at the house almost every night, and I like to take pictures of the pizzas I make. So you'll see pizza on there.
Yeah, there's been a lot of pizza pictures, but that's all right.
That's something
But
I'm good at. I'm not good at a lot of things in life, but I can make pizza, though. That's something I can do.
you make it the super thin crust. We were talking about that on
Yeah, I
Discord.
can do that too. Yeah, I can make the thick crust. I make deep dish. I like the thinner crust, not thin crust, but thinner crust. I don't like big, thick pizza.
Well, we were laughing because so we got a bunch of guys coming into Chicago for Collecticon, and we were just kind of laughing about that because they're all talking about Chicago deep dish pizza. Like, oh,
I
I gotta
don't
do the Chicago deep dish, and we were kind of laughing because Basic Trainer was from Chicago, and my family's all from Chicago. We're like, you guys are such suckers for the tourist stuff. You got to
Yeah, I
find that
don't.
Chicago thin crust. That's what you want to find.
Yeah,
That thin
I do
flaky
not
crust,
like deep
man.
dish. Deep dish isn't even pizza. It's like
It's a
I don't even
casserole.
know what it's like. It's like a
It's a
pie. It's
casserole.
like a pizza
Yeah.
pie. It's not pizza. I mean, it's
No.
layered with stuff, and they layer it with
Yeah.
cheese, and it's not pizza.
We just laugh. It's a tourist trap because I told him, I said, I'll take you to some pizza places that have that actual Chicago pizza. You'll never go back to a deep dish again. Trust me. There's a lot better pizza than Chicago deep dish.
No doubt. No doubt.
But well, once again, Terry, thank you so much for your time.
Once again,
Thank
Andy,
you,
I
everybody.
really appreciate it. If you know how to get a hold of me, if you need to get a hold of me for anything.
Oh, we'll do. And then, like I said, we'll talk to you. I'll put up your information down below. So anybody that's here in the chat, or if anybody futuristically sees this video and wants to have any more questions about, businesses or taxes, or maybe get some directions on what you think they should do, they can get a hold of you and talk to you, or about anything else. They just want to talk to you about Pokemon cards or sourcing stuff.
Exactly. And I see
Willing to
my
help them on that too.
voice stayed on here the whole time. That's him. He says he is the pizza master after all. I love you, Griffin.
Yep, there he is. So, but like I said, thank you so much, Terry. Thank you, everybody that stayed in the chat the
Thank
whole
you,
time, and
everyone.
definitely had some.
It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate you.
And
Been a
I'll
pleasure
be
to have
following
you.
you, watching your videos.
Sounds good. I don't know if I'm going to get one out tomorrow, but I'll probably try and get one for Friday. When I do these long lives, I just don't have enough time to sit there and
I get it.
edit afterwards and try and fit that all in. So, other than that, like I said,
Appreciate
thank
it,
you so
my
much,
friend. You have
everybody.
yourself a good night.
You too. Thank you, everybody in the chat too, and we'll see you next live next Tuesday coming up. And then, of course, I'll have the announcement here by next Tuesday for who's going to be doing the next Choose Your Pat series. I got 2 people that I'm trying to get a date to make sure I can get it locked down. So we'll be having the Choose Your Pat series coming up in March too, with another guest to be talking about their career in Pokemon TCG. Other than that, we will be putting out some videos here this week for you guys, talking about Pokemon investing, number 1, and number 2, talking about the some business aspects. And other than that, thank you, Terry, for your time. Thank you, everybody in the chat, and we'll see you next time here on
Good night, all.
TCG.